Good evening and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IS. Am I audible and visible? Good evening, Patan. Thank you. Let some more people join in and I'll begin. Thank you, Isha. I'm fine. I hope the same of you. Good evening once again, all of you. Muskan, I have told you, you can refer to the Jain and Mathur book. World History by Jain and Mathur is a very good book. And you can also supplement that if necessary with Norman Lowe's book. Norman Lowe's book starts from World War One onwards, but that is more relevant. World War One onwards topics are important. World War One and then onwards. But anyway, Jain and Mathur supplemented with Norman Lowe. But one book is enough. Jain and Mathur, that should be sufficient. It should be available. At least take a Xerox copy. If you have some library edition, then please take a photocopy of the same. Um, Abhishek Mandal says Jain and Mathur is not available. Let me see if I can scan it. Okay, let me see if I can scan it and then share the scanned copy. Is it fine? People who are interested in Jain and Mathur, right? Byju's book is sufficient. Yeah, maybe, definitely. It is well conceived. I would not say it is insufficient, but it is, you will get some relevant points in that book also. But then one book, textbook is better, Jain and Mathur. Okay, let's begin today's session. Yesterday, I finished with the topic unification of Germany. And I began with unification of Italy, but I could not find the time to complete it. So today we will finish unification of Italy and then we will go to the next topic, Industrial Revolution. Now, unification of Italy, I told you yesterday that two countries were born in 1871 on the map of Europe. Two new countries were born on the map of Europe, namely Germany and Italy. And both were born in 1871. Now, I told you why unification of Germany topic is important. Important from the point of view of the world wars, both the First and the Second World Wars, because most of the historians blame Germany as the main reason for the First World War and also the Second World War. So, in that sense, unification of Germany becomes important and the role of Bismarck becomes important. What about Italy, you might ask? Italy also is important because you see, in the First World War, we have Italy. She was a member of the so-called Triple Alliance. Understand this? She was a member of the Triple Alliance. That is, along with Germany and Austria-Hungary, Italy was also a member of the Triple Alliance. But then later, in the midst of the war, when the First World War was going on, in the midst of the war, she switched loyalties. She joined the Triple Entente countries, consisting of England, France, etc. What was the main reason behind it? And that story is part of this topic called unification of Italy, right? I'll explain that part at the end of this particular topic. Now let's begin this topic. I had already begin this topic yesterday. We will continue. Let me recap. So here we have four people responsible for unifying Italy into a nation, namely Mazzini, Count Cavour, Garibaldi, and King Victor Emmanuel II. So these are the important people responsible for unifying Italy: Cavour, Mazzini, Garibaldi, and Victor Emmanuel II. Now, as I told you, in the ancient times, and even in the medieval times, Italy had a glorious history, culture, tradition. In ancient times, it was the home of the Roman Empire and also later the Byzantine Empire or the Eastern Roman Empire. Once the Roman Empire collapsed, the Eastern Roman Empire also functioned from here. Further, we have in medieval times, Italy was the hub of European trade. So Arab merchants used to get exotic products of the East like spices, cotton textiles, silk, etc. And they used to bring it all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. You can see here, they used to bring it to the Mediterranean Sea. So they used to come to the Mediterranean Sea and in turn sell these products of the East to the Italian merchants. So Arab merchants used to visit the great ports of Italy like Venice, Florence, Milan, etc. And they used to sell those products of the East to the Italian merchants. And the Italian merchants in turn used to distribute these products throughout Europe. And they used to make a lot of profit, the Italian merchants. So it was the hub of European trade in the medieval times, Italy. And at the same time, it was the place where Renaissance happened in the medieval times. Renaissance happened in Italy. So it had a glorious tradition, culture, and history. But then in the 18th century, as mentioned by Metternich, Italy was a mere geographical expression. She was a mere geographical expression, as mentioned by Metternich. That is, she was only a speck on the map of Europe. You have diversity in all respects. You have diversity in religion, traditions, art, culture, etc., administration, and also you have regional chauvinism and lack of patriotism. So we have the political fragmentation of Italy, different parts of Italy ruled by different kings, and there was no unity amongst these kings. They never used to care for their own people. So you have regional chauvinism, diversity in administration, religion, culture, traditions, etc. And also we have foreign powers like France, Austria, and Pope who used to interfere in Italian affairs. But in the 18th century, we have the forces of liberalism, nationalism, and nationalism, influencing the Italians also. Liberalism, nationalism, romanticism, influencing the Italians, and they also desired to unify their country into one country, one nation. Now let us look at the causes of the Italian nationalism and liberalism. We have various causes: the French Revolution, Napoleon Bonaparte, reactionary attitude of the Congress of Vienna. I stopped here yesterday. We'll come to that. Contemporary political events of Europe and the work of Italian patriots. So, French Revolution, as we have seen, it threw up a number of principles: liberty, equality, democracy, fraternity, etc. And even the Italians were influenced by these French principles, the principles of the French Revolution. But then they were helpless; they could not do anything. And after the fall of Napoleon was defeated in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. Remember, he had conquered the whole of Italy and he had politically unified that country. So once Napoleon was defeated in the Battle of Waterloo, there again arose a desire amongst the Italians to unify themselves politically into a nation. But then the rulers of Europe were reactionaries. We have the Congress of Vienna, which took place soon after the Battle of Waterloo. In 1815, the Vienna Congress took place, isn't it? And the Vienna Congress strengthened reactionary forces. All the emperors of Europe came to amass huge amount of power and pelf. At the same time, they never cared for the sentiments of the French Revolution. So the Italians were helpless because throughout Europe, you have reactionary elements gaining ground, right? This is number one, right? Then we come to Napoleonic Wars. Isha Gupta, can you just focus on the class? We will talk about the text. What I can do, I'll definitely do. Just hold on. Jain and Mathur, I'll try to scan it and I'll send you the scanned copy, or I'll ask my team to do it. Right? Please hold on. Focus on the class, please. And right, please, Isha Gupta. We'll come back here. So Napoleonic Wars. What was their impact on Italian unification? First of all, we have the Directory 1795. We have France ruled by the National Convention and the Directory, and 6 countries declared war against France. Once Louis XVI was guillotined, we have 6 countries declaring war against France. And out of the 6 countries, 4 were defeated. 4 were defeated by France, and 2 remained to be tackled, namely Austria and England and Austria. And in that context, the Directory, that is the executive authority under the National Convention, decided to tackle Austria. Those days, as we have seen when we did Napoleonic era, the topic of Napoleon, I told you Austria during those days also was ruling over the Italian peninsula. So she was ruling over Austria proper and also ruling over a part of Italian peninsula. So a two-pronged attack was planned on Austria, attacking Austria in Austria and attacking Austria in the Italian peninsula. And the second job, that is attacking Austria in the Italian peninsula, was given to Napoleon Bonaparte. So Napoleon, he attacked the Italian peninsula, and three powers came together to fight against Napoleon: Austria, Sardinia, and Pope. So we have three powers, that is Austria, Sardinia, the Kingdom of Sardinia, and the Pope, who ruled the Papal States. So these three powers came together to fight against Napoleon. But Napoleon was able to defeat all of them in all the battles. And what did he do? After defeating the Austrians in the Italian peninsula, he established two republics, Cisalpine and Ligurian republics. And he entrusted the responsibility of running the affairs of these republics to the Italians themselves. And that kindled the spirit of, that gave birth to the spirit of nationalism and liberalism amongst the Italians. Then, in 1804, Napoleon became the Emperor of France. And in that capacity, as the Emperor of France, he conquered the whole of Italy. And for the first time, after many centuries, we have Italians being ruled by one political authority. So Napoleon became the king of Italy, right? And Napoleon was there in power till 1815, right? So he had politically unified the Italians into one nation. Once Napoleon was no more there on the scene, there again arose a desire amongst the Italians to politically unify themselves into a nation. This is the role of Napoleon in the cause of Italian nationalism and liberalism. That's why he is called the father of Italian nationalism and liberalism. He was the one who sowed the seeds of Italian nationalism and unification movement. Am I there with you, all of you? Right, we move on. Then we have the Congress of Vienna. Right, we have the Congress of Vienna and its reactionary attitude. So what was this Congress of Vienna? It was a respectable assembly, august assembly. August means a respectable assembly of all the emperors of Europe who met at Vienna in 1815 following the defeat of Napoleon in the Battle of Waterloo. So all the emperors, statesmen, ambassadors, kings, they were all represented in this Congress of Vienna. And who was the president of this Congress of Vienna? Metternich, Clemens von Metternich, the Chancellor of Austria. And he was a person who believed in dictatorship, autocracy. All the power should be in the hands of a king, and he should be all powerful. So here in the Congress of Vienna, led by Metternich, reactionary elements gained ground. That is, those kings who had lost their thrones because of Napoleon, they were all brought back on their respective thrones, right? And the principles of the French Revolution were confined to the dustbin. Three principles of Metternich, three goals of the Congress of Vienna under Metternich. Of course, we have seen this yesterday also. Prevent future French aggression by surrounding France with stronger states. Restore a balance of power in Europe. No one country is a threat to other countries. So may restore a balance of power in Europe. And restore legitimacy. That is, Europe's royal families were back on their thrones. And as we have seen earlier, it ignored the principles of the French Revolution. Liberty, equality, fraternity, democracy, they were all confined to the dustbin. What did the Congress of Vienna do with respect to the Italian peninsula? This is called cutting of the Italian melon. You see here, cutting of the Italian melon. Yesterday we had stopped here. Let me continue. Let me refresh our memories. So we have on the northern part of the Italian peninsula two kingdoms, Lombardy and Venetia. They were directly kept under Austria. So Austrian kings directly ruled over Lombardy, Venetia. And then they ruled over the central duchies indirectly. So that is Parma, Modena, Tuscany are called central duchies. They were ruled by kings who took their orders from the Austrian emperors. So Austria was ruling over Lombardy, Venetia directly and over the central duchies of Parma, Modena, and Tuscany indirectly. So you can see here on your screen, you have Lombardy, Venetia directly ruled by Austria, and central duchies of Parma, Modena, and Tuscany ruled by Austrian Habsburg princes, of course indirectly, because those kings of Parma, Modena, and Tuscany took their orders from the Habsburg kings of Austria. Then we have the papal states. What are the papal states? We have 4 papal states, that is Rome, Romagna, Umbria, and the Marches. These together are called papal states. Rome, Romagna, Umbria, and the Marches. On your screen, it was ruled by the Pope. Rome, Romagna, Umbria, and the Marches. So Rome, Romagna, Umbria, and the Marches, ruled by the Pope. So it had a peculiar kind of theocracy. Further, we have southern Italy. This is southern Italy for you. You can see this is southern Italy, the kingdom of Naples and Sicily. That is called the kingdom of the 2 Sicilies. It is called the kingdom of the 2 Sicilies, that is Naples and Sicily. Now, this was under a Bourbon king. He belonged to the Bourbon dynasty of France, right? That is Ferdinand the First. His name was Ferdinand the First, and Francis the Second. After Ferdinand the First died, Francis the Second, again a Bourbon monarch, ruled southern Italy. Right? You see here. So the kingdom of Naples and Sicily, ruled by the Bourbon monarch, Ferdinand and Francis II. And of course, we have the kingdom of Sardinia, Piedmont. So you see, this is the kingdom of Sardinia, Piedmont. The kingdom of Sardinia, Piedmont. So this was ruled by a local royal family of Italy, Savoy royal family. And who were the kings? Victor Emmanuel I, succeeded by his son Charles Albert, and finally Victor Emmanuel II, the son of Charles Albert, Victor Emmanuel II. Victor Emmanuel I was a dictator. He never cared for his people. He ruled like a dictator. But then we have Charles Albert, the son of Victor Emmanuel I, and Victor Emmanuel II. These 2 people provided leadership to the cause of Italian unification. They were the ones who led the unification movement, of course supported by others. So this is known as the cutting of the Italian melon. Did you understand? This was done by the Congress of Vienna. First point I told you, Pari, Lombardy, Venetia, directly ruled by Austria, and the central duchies of Parma, Modena, Tuscany, ruled by kings who took their orders from the Austrian emperors. So Austria ruled over the central duchies indirectly. Clear? So this is called cutting of the Italian melon. Then we move on. You see, this is the House of Savoy. This is the royal emblem of the House of Savoy, and this is the official castle, where the Savoy kings used to live. Valentino Castle, Turin, and they're not important from the exam point of view. Anyway, we'll come back here. So here you see we have reactionary elements gaining ground. Understand this, please? The kings and monarchs of Europe had strengthened their own hands in the Congress of Vienna. People could not express themselves openly. The Italians could not express their desire to unify themselves into a nation openly. But then you please understand, the principles of the French Revolution, the French ideals, the principles of the French Revolution, either way had crossed the Alps mountains along with the French soldiers. So, and the Napoleonic regime gave a new boost to debilitated Italy. You see, French ideals, liberty, equality, fraternity, etc., had also crossed the Alps mountains and percolated into Italy. Along with the French soldiers, Napoleon also had conquered the whole of Italy, isn't it? So that gave a boost to the debilitated Italy and has restored princes of Italy. You have all the kings of Italy who were reactionaries. So therefore, you have secret societies being born. People could not openly express their desire to unify. They could not show their love towards or their desire to unify themselves into a nation. As a result, you have secret societies which were born in Italy. You remember yesterday's class, Germany. Even the Germans were not able to express themselves freely after the Congress of Vienna. So secret societies were established in the University of Jena. Similarly, here in Italy, we have a secret society called Carbonari. Carbonari, which was established. So this is the Carbonari or charcoal burners. So what is this Carbonari? It was a secret society consisting of coal mine workers. They used to work in the coal mines of Italy. And in the evening time, after a hard day's labor, under the light of a lamp, they will sit together and they'll discuss about the necessity of unifying themselves into a nation. and how Austria was interfering in Italian affairs and the necessity of kicking out the Austrians or driving out the Austrians from the soil of Italy. So basically, this is called Carbonari. Carbonari, this was a secret society which was established in 1800 and it existed till 1831. The activities of the Carbonari existed till 1831. So this was a nationalist society operating in secret, consisting of the coal mine workers. That's why it's called Carbonari, coal mine workers, right? And it spread the sentiment of nationalism, love towards their mother country. And what was the aim of the Carbonari? To throw out foreigners from the soil of Italy and establish constitutional monarchy. What is constitutional monarchy? You have a parliament, but also you have a king. But the real power is in the hands of the parliament, like in England. So they wanted to establish a constitutional monarchy in Italy. But first, they wanted to drive away the foreigners from the soil of Italy. And the flag of the Carbonari also became the flag of the Italian unification movement. What was the flag of the Carbonari? You can see on your screen the black, red, and the blue flags. The black, red, and the blue flag of the Carbonari also became the flag of the Italian unification movement. And this Carbonari, which was a secret society, from 1820 onwards began to foment revolts. It was the one which was masterminding revolts in various parts of Italy. Okay, this is Carbonari. Clear? Reactionaries means Nilanjana, that is where all the powers are in the hands of the emperor or the king, right? That is called reactionary elements, right? Gaining ground, becoming stronger. That's what the Congress of Vienna did, right? So principles of the French Revolution were confined to the dustbin and reactionary elements gained ground. All the powers in the hands of the monarch, emperor. Okay, did you understand, Nilanjana? Can I move on, all of you? Clear? Here? So from 1820 onwards, we have Carbonari fomenting revolts or masterminding revolts or plotting revolts in various parts of the Italian peninsula. Then we move on. We have a revolution breaking out in Spain and Portugal. This is in 1820. Understand this? Revolutions broke out in two countries simultaneously, Spain and Portugal. And what was the impact of the revolution in Spain and Portugal within the Italian peninsula? So, what was the reason why the people of Spain and Portugal revolted? They wanted a liberal constitution. You can see here, they wanted a liberal constitution where they wanted their kings to introduce elections in their country, where people have a lot of freedom. They have press freedom, freedom of speech, etc. So they demanded a liberal constitution, and the kings of Spain and Portugal gave their people a liberal constitution. Now, this had an impact within the Italian peninsula. And in some parts of Italy, we have revolts breaking out. First of all, we have a revolt in Naples. On your screen, we have a revolt in Naples. Where is Naples? Let us try to locate Naples. This is Naples. You see on your screen to the right. This is Naples. So in 1820, there was a revolt in Naples. And who was the king of the two Sicilies, Naples and Sicily? We have Ferdinand the First. He was the king. So there was a revolt in Naples. He was a Bourbon king, as you know. And people demanded a liberal constitution, as part of this revolt. Ferdinand was forced to give a liberal constitution. He was forced to give a liberal constitution to the people of Naples. But then what happened is, though he gave them a liberal constitution, after some time, Ferdinand the First, with the help of Metternich, put down the revolt. With the help of Metternich, we have the Ferdinand putting down that revolt in Naples. The leaders of this revolt were caught, that is arrested and hanged, and the constitution was torn to pieces and confined to the dustbin. So this Naples revolt was violently suppressed by Ferdinand the First. Then we have a revolt in Piedmont in 1821, and also in Lombardy in 1821. We have a revolt in Piedmont and Lombardy. Now, who was the king at Piedmont? We have the king Victor Emmanuel the First. He was the king. And I told you he was ruling his own people like a dictator. He belonged to the royal family of the local royal family of Italy, Savoy royal family, but he never cared for his own people. So people revolted against Victor Emmanuel I, the people of Piedmont, and they demanded a war with Austria. They wanted Victor Emmanuel to declare war against Austria, right? But again, with the help of Metternich, we have Victor Emmanuel putting down this revolt. So the Naples revolt was put down. the Piedmont revolt was put down, and also the revolt at Lombardy was put down with the help of Metternich. You can see here on your screen, I mentioned the same thing. In 1820, there was a revolt in Naples. Ferdinand was forced to give a liberal constitution, but later, with the help of Metternich, he put down the revolt. You have Austria putting down the revolt at Naples. Similarly, revolt in 1821 at Piedmont and Lombardy were also put down with the help of Austria by their respective rulers. Did you understand? Clear? Right? Pallavi Oja, please, refresh your page. Okay, we move on here. Okay, thank you. So when I ask you if you have understood, keep replying to me so that I know that you are able to catch whatever I'm telling you. Otherwise, I'll repeat it. And if you have noticed it, I keep repeating it so that it stays in your mind, and it is as fresh as possible. That's what I try to do. We'll move on here. So the July Revolution of 1830 of France and its impact on Italian nationalism. So we have discussed this yesterday. July Revolution of 1830, February Revolution of 1848 in France impacted Germans also. In fact, it impacted the whole of Europe. So you have a revolution breaking out in France. And again, this revolution in France impacted the Italian peninsula. Let us try to understand what happened within the Italian peninsula. So you have in July 1830, a revolution breaking out in France. Yesterday's class, remember, after Napoleon was defeated in the Battle of Waterloo, after Waterloo, who became the king of Italy, who became the emperor of Italy? Louis the 18th. Louis the 18th, the brother of Louis the 16th, was made the king of France. Once Louis the 18th died, his brother Charles the 10th became the king. Now Charles the 10th became the king of France, and he was ruling the country with the help of the clergy. So he believed in the divine right theory of monarchy, and at the same time, he ran the country with the help of the clergy, that is the church people. That's why his government was called government of the clergy, by the clergy, and for the clergy. Now, what did he do? He dissolved the Chamber of Deputies. This was a representative body in France, elected by the people of France. And here, Charles X dissolved that representative institution. And he introduced press restrictions. He muzzled the press, right? He muzzled the press. So that resulted in the people of France revolting against Charles X. And Charles X was forced to abdicate. He was forced to give up the throne of France. Charles chose his own son as his successor, but people of France did not want him. They chose their own king, Louis Philippe of the Orleans family. So people of France chose or elected Louis Philippe of the Orleans family as the king of France. So who became supreme in France? The people became supreme because they have elected their own king. Now, this had a repercussion within the Italian peninsula. And in some states, we have revolts breaking out. Okay, we have revolts breaking out, people demanding liberal constitutions from their people, from their kings. So, what are the states where we have revolts breaking out? Papal states, Parma, Modena. So, let us locate them. You see, these are papal states. So, papal states, Parma and Modena. Revolts broke out there, but they were crushed by Austria. Austria interfered in Italian peninsula and crushed those revolts. Those kings took the help of the Austrian monarch and put down those revolts. Did you understand? So we have a Spanish and a Portuguese revolt which took place. It had repercussions within the Italian peninsula. Some states demanded a liberal constitution, but they were violently put down by Austria. Then, when the July Revolution of 1830 happened in France, it had repercussions within the Italian peninsula. Again, in some states, we have revolts breaking out, people demanding liberal constitutions from their kings. But again, with the help of Austria, those kings put down these revolts. Okay? No, the respective kings gave it, Parveen. The respective kings of those states gave it. For example, I told you Naples, when the Naples revolt happened, you have Ferdinand giving a liberal constitution, but later he put down that revolt with the help of Metternich. Okay. Now, these revolts, understand this, I'm coming to that Nilanjana. Hold on. Why was Austria so easily able to put down those revolts? Is the question. because these revolts, which took place in various parts of the Italian peninsula, please understand, Carbonari, that secret society, was the one which was the mastermind behind these revolts. It was the one which was fomenting these revolts here and there. So these revolts were easily put down by Austria because they were local in nature, they were spasmodic and disunited. It was not that the entire Italian peninsula had risen in revolt. It's happening here and there. Spasm, Nilanjana, spasmodic is spasm, sprain. Now, when you get a sprain on your body, where do you get it? You get it here and there. You don't get it all over your body. That's the meaning of spasmodic. Did you understand? So, these revolts were easily put down by Austria because they were localized to a particular part of Italy. They were like a spasm happening here and there, and they were disunited. The Italian people were not united in en masse rising in revolt. Did you understand? So that's the reason why Austria was able to easily put down those revolts. This is the impact of the July Revolution within Italy. Then we move on. We have something called Risorgimento. Risorgimento movement. What is this Risorgimento? It is nothing but literary and national revival. So this happened in the first quarter of the 19th century, that is 1825 onwards. We have a literary and national revival. Now, who are the people behind this so-called Risorgimento movement? If you remember Germany, you remember yesterday's class, we have the German Romantic movement, isn't it? Fish, Hegel, Kant, Beethoven, etc. So they spoke about a pan-Germany. They extolled the Teutonic race. They wanted the Germans to unite themselves into a nation. Similarly, in Italy, we have the Italian novelists, playwrights, right? Poets. They were the ones who were the mastermind behind this Risorgimento movement. And you have people like Ghiberti. You see here on your screen, Ghiberti, Cesare Balbo, Massimo di Azeglio. These are the people. Ghiberti, Cesare Balbo, Massimo di Azeglio. These Italian playwrights, novelists, etc., spoke and wrote about the need for creating a free and united Italy. They wanted Italy to be free and united, number one. Number two, they also called for the elimination of Austria from the soil of Italy. They said, kick out Austria, drive out Austria from the soil of Italy. And we have the king of Sardinia, Piedmont, Charles Albert. So Charles Albert, you see here, this is the King Charles Albert, King of Sardinia, Piedmont. He had succeeded Victor Emmanuel I. The son of Victor Emmanuel I was this man, King Charles Albert. King Charles Albert, the King of Sardinia, Piedmont, gave a slogan. Understand this, please? Italia fara da se. That is a slogan given by Charles Albert, the King of Sardinia, Piedmont. Sardinia, Piedmont. So he is the King of Sardinia, Piedmont. Charles Albert, he gives a slogan. What is the slogan? Italia fara da se. What is this? Italia fara da se. Italy will do it alone. Italy will do it alone. What will Italy do alone? Italy will alone drive away Austria from the soil of Italy. Did you understand? Italy alone will drive away Austria from the soil of the Italian peninsula. This is the slogan given by Charles Albert. So these playwrights like Cesare Balbo, Massimo di Azeglio, etc., they created a consciousness of Italy's glorious past. They told the people of Italy how rich and what a great history, culture, and tradition Italy has from ancient times. So then they made the people remember the glorious past of Italy. It was the home of the Roman Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire, right? In the medieval times, it was the hub of European trade. It was the place where Renaissance happened. It was also the place where you have great painters, architects like Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, okay, etc. Raphael. So these are all the great, people who had worked in Italy, and they had embellished or enriched Italian culture. So they spoke about all those things. They made the Italians feel very proud about their past. So what was the aim of these writers, novelists, etc.? They wanted a free and united Italy. They wanted the establishment of a parliamentary democracy, a republican form of government, press freedom, okay, reduction in the powers of the church. These were the main aims of these Italian novelists, writers, etc. You see, they demanded parliamentary government, republic. Italy should be a republic. So, right? Press freedom, then reduction in the powers of the church. So this is called Risorgimento movement, which began in the early part of the 19th century, the first quarter of the 19th century, pioneered by great Italian novelists, writers, etc., like Gioberti, Cesare Balbo, Massimo di Azeglio. Right, then we move on. We have the role of Mazzini. On your screen, this is Mazzini, Giuseppe Mazzini. No, that is the Italian way of pronouncing Joseph. No, Joseph Mazzini. They call it as Giuseppe Mazzini. That is their way of Italian slang of Joseph Giuseppe. So it doesn't matter. You can just remember Mazzini. Now, Mazzini is called the prophet of Italian unification. Understand this? He's called the prophet of Italian unification. Now, who was this man, Mazzini? He's called the prophet of Italian unification. He was born in Genoa. And from an early age, he dreamt of a free and united Italy. And in his youth, he joined the Carbonari, so the secret society called Carbonari. And he also participated in the wave of revolts which took place in the Italian peninsula. I told you between 1800 and 1831, we have a number of revolts masterminded by the Carbonari throughout the Italian peninsula. And Mazzini was also part of those revolts. But then he was arrested and exiled. He was arrested and thrown out of Italy. So he went into exile. And then later, after many years, he comes back. Mazzini comes back. He establishes a new organization called Young Italy. This was in the year 1831. He establishes a new organization called Young Italy because he believed that the techniques or the ways of the Carbonari are outdated. He felt that the methods adopted by Carbonari are outdated. So he established a new organization called Young Italy. And through this Young Italy, he began to foment revolts throughout the Italian peninsula. Right? So Carbonari's place was taken by Young Italy of Mazzini. So what was the aim of Mazzini and his Young Italy? The propagation of Republican and nationalist ideals amongst Italians, the spread of Republican and nationalist ideals amongst Italians. And what was the method to spread Republican and nationalist ideals? Now, what is a republic? Republic is where the head of the state is elected. There's no monarchy, right? And the republic and the head of the state is elected. So he wanted the establishment of wanted the spread of Republican and nationalist ideals through how? Through Western education and insurrection by Western education and revolts, fomenting revolts. He wanted to popularize Republican ideas this way through Western education and insurrection. And he felt, Mazzini believed that revolution should be preceded by Renaissance. What is Renaissance? Rebirth, isn't it? Literally, Renaissance means rebirth. Now, what is the meaning of this? Understand this. Revolution should be preceded by Renaissance or rebirth. Now, if you look at the map of Italy, we have discussed this. The political fragmentation of Italy by the Congress of Vienna. Political fragmentation of Italy by the Congress of Vienna. Lombardy, Venetia directly ruled by Austria. Parma, Modena, Tuscany, the central duchies ruled by kings who took their orders from Austria. Papal states ruled by the Pope, right? And then southern Italy ruled by Bourbon monarch, a French monarch. Now, Italians never had any belief in their hearts and minds that they can unify themselves into a nation. Once the Congress of Vienna happened and later Italy was cut up like this, they had no belief that unification of Italy is possible. It was Mazzini who made them believe that it is possible. And that is the greatness of Mazzini. That is his more only contribution. He made the Italians believe that unification is possible, right? And he had great faith in the youngsters of Italy, youngsters like you people. He says you should take the proactive role and work towards unifying this country into a nation. So this is the role of Mazzini. Did you understand? All of you, can you raise your hands? That's why he's called the prophet of Italian unification. Prophet, he made the Italians believe in themselves. So through Young Italy, you can see here, just hold on, I'll come there. Through Young Italy, he began to foment revolts. Young Italy began to mastermind revolts in various parts of the Italian peninsula. And in 1834, There was a serious revolt in Savoy. You can see here, where is Savoy? Savoy is here. Savoy. This was in 1834. You have a revolt in Savoy, masterminded by Mazzini's Young Italy. And a man called Garibaldi also participated in this Savoy revolt. Garibaldi. He participated in this Savoy revolt. But then we have Austria interfering, coming to the assistance of the Savoy king and violently putting it down. So the revolt at Savoy was put down by Austria, and Garibaldi ran away to South America as an exile. So he was in South America for 14 years. He never came to the Italian peninsula for 14 years. So the Savoy revolt was masterminded by Young Italy, and Garibaldi had participated in that, but it was put down, and he ran away to South America for 14 years. So, what is the contribution of Mazzini? As I told you, he was the one who made the Italians believe that unification is possible because they had no belief in themselves. That's why he says revolution should be preceded by a renaissance. There should be a new thinking on the part of the Italians. They should believe themselves in themselves first of all, isn't it? Only then it is possible to achieve unification of that country. So he aimed to his aim was to convert Italy into a free democratic republic. He infused moral fervor into the national movement. He kindled the enthusiasm of the young and kept alive the spirit of insurrection, revolt. And he created faith in the masses. He created faith in the masses that unification is possible. And as I told you, he wanted the youngsters of Italy. He wanted the youth of Italy to play a proactive role in trying to unify their country into a nation. In his own words, you can see on your screen, this is the quotation attributed to Mazzini. Place faith at the hands of the insurgent multitude. You know not the secret of the power hidden in these youthful hearts, nor the major influence exercised on the masses by the voice of youth. You will find among the young a host of apostles of the new religion. So, in other words, he wanted youngsters, the youth of Italy, to play a proactive role in unifying their country into a nation. This is the role of Mazzini. Are you there with me, all of you? Clear? That's why he's called the prophet of Italian unification. He made them believe in themselves that unification is possible. Then we move on. We have the nationalist revolution of Italy between 47 and 49. Between 1847 and 49, what are the important developments which happened? On your screen, you see we have a new pope who occupies the papal chair. His name was Pope Pius IX. So this is Pius IX, right? Now, he was a very liberal-minded pope. He gave a lot of freedom to the people in the papal states. Rome, Romagna, Umbria marches. He introduced elections. He removed the press restrictions, right? And you have freedom of speech, expression, etc. So people of the papal states were very, very happy with this pope because he introduced liberal reforms. And then we have a revolution in France in 1848. This is the 1848, February Revolution of 1848 in France. What happened in France? As you can see, after Napoleon was defeated in the Battle of Waterloo, Louis XVIII became the King of France, the brother of Louis XVI, followed by Charles X. And then we have the July Revolution of 1830, by which people of France had elected Louis Philippe as their king. But then, what is the reason for the 1848 revolution in France? You see, Louis Philippe, he forgot that he had been elected by the people of France. He began to behave like a dictator. You see, Louis Philippe had come to power with the help of the middle classes. He had come to power with the help of the middle classes, and therefore he ignored the masses. Ignored the masses. I told you yesterday as part of this unification of Germany. So you have socialist movements, socialism socialism had spread into France also, and you have influenced by the socialist ideas. Workers were demanding voting rights. Workers wanted franchise for themselves, voting rights for themselves, and they were peacefully marching in a procession, demanding franchise or voting rights. Without any provocation, Louis Philippe ordered the police to open fire on these peaceful processionists. That resulted in a major revolt in France. Louis Philippe was forced to abdicate, and people of France elected Louis Bonaparte. That is later Louis, he became Napoleon the Third, isn't it? So Napoleon's nephew, Louis Bonaparte, became the king of France, and France became a republic. Please understand, he was made president. Louis Bonaparte was elected president, and in 1848, France became a republic for the second time. So France became a republic with an elected president, Louis Bonaparte. But later, of course, Louis Bonaparte, he became a dictator. He cancelled the republic, and then he abolished the republic, and he became the emperor of France, and he took a new name, Napoleon the Third. We'll come to that later. So he called himself as Napoleon the Third, the same Louis Bonaparte. Napoleon the Third. Okay. Now, what was the impact within the Italian peninsula following the revolution in France of 1848? Again, in some parts of Italy, we have revolts breaking out. We have Sicily, Piedmont, and Tuscany. You see, in these three places, we have revolts breaking out. People demanded constitutional reforms, and parliamentary governments were established. The kings of those respective places gave their people parliamentary forms of government. And this also resulted in Metternich being expelled from Austria. So in 1848, when a revolution broke out in France, simultaneously in Austria, Metternich lost his job. So he was expelled from Austria. You can see on your screen, there's a picture of Metternich being placed on a donkey. He's being made to sit on a donkey, and he's being paraded on the streets of Vienna. So Metternich was a person who believed in autocracy, dictatorship. He wanted a very powerful king, and he never cared for the sentiments of the people of any country in Europe, for that matter. So here, Metternich was discredited. He lost his job, and as a result, within Italian peninsula, in some places we have revolts breaking out. Mainly Milan, Venice, and Lombardy. You see, where is Milan? This Milan is the capital of Lombardy. So you remember, Lombardy and Venetia were directly ruled by Austria. Once Metternich lost his job in Austria, you have Lombardy and Venetia were burning. You have people revolting there. They wanted to get rid of Austrian rule over them. Austria was ruling over them. They wanted to get rid of that. So Milan, the capital of Lombardy, Venice, the capital of Venetia, you have in all these places revolts breaking out. Right? These are the Austrian possessions in Italy. You have revolts breaking out. And that is a time when we have a new person who comes onto the scene in the story of Italian unification movement. His name was Count Cavour. You see on your screen, Camillo Benso, Count da Cavour. So he was the Count of Cavour. Cavour is the name of a place, but he's popularly called Count Cavour. Now, who was this Count Cavour, and what is his role in the cause of Italian unification movement? Count Cavour was the editor of a newspaper called Il Risorgimento. You see here, this is the newspaper, Il Risorgimento. And he was the editor of this newspaper. So, Count Cavour, he was the editor of this newspaper. And once Metternich was expelled from Austria, right, following, in 1848, you have Count Cavour telling the king of Sardinia Piedmont, Charles Albert. He's telling the king, Charles Albert. So you see here, this is the picture of King Charles Albert of Sardinia Piedmont, the local royal family of Italy. So Count Cavour tells his king, Charles Albert, you should take the leadership and throw out Austria from the soil of Italy. You remember in German unification movement, it was Prussia which took the leadership. And Prussia, with Bismarck and Wilhelm I, King Wilhelm I, was able to unify Germany into a nation. Similarly here, Count Cavour is telling the king of Sardinia Piedmont, Charles Albert, you become the leader of the cause of Italian unification. You take the responsibility and defeat Austria, kick out Austria from the soil of Italy. And he instigated Charles Albert, right, to declare war against Austria. So here you see the supreme hour of the Sardinian monarchy has struck. One way lies open to the nation and the king, immediate war. So Cavour is telling the king of Sardinia Piedmont to declare war against Austria and drive away Austria from the soil of Italy. Nilanjana, why people elected a nephew of Napoleon? Because, they had given enough chance to the Bourbons and the Orleans. They had given enough chance to the Bourbons and the Orleans, and now they thought, let us elect somebody from the Bonaparte family. So they elected Louis Bonaparte as their king. Okay? Right. Now we'll come back here. Now, you see here, we have the first independence war. This is called the first Italian independence war. This is the Battle of Custoza. On your screen, Battle of Custoza. Battle of Custoza. Battle of Custoza. Charles Albert versus Austria. The king of Sardinia Piedmont has declared war against Austria. So Austria was a very powerful country, please understand. So Charles Albert, when he declared war against Austria, Austria defeated Charles Albert. You see here, Charles Albert was defeated. So what was the result of this defeat of Charles Albert? He was the one who declared war against Austria, but Austria has defeated Charles Albert. Now, monarchy was discredited. Number one is monarchy could not show its face. It was discredited. And then you have an impetus given to the Republican movement. And people look up to Mazzini for leadership. So they never expected this, that Charles Albert will be defeated by Austria. When Austria defeated Charles Albert, the king of Sardinia Piedmont, people were helpless, did not know what to do. And they looked up to Mazzini for guidance and leadership. And Mazzini is supposed to have remarked, the war of the princes was finished and that of the people begun. Understand this? What is the meaning of this? What if the king has been defeated? No problem. The people should continue this struggle. Did you understand? King has been defeated, no doubt, but then people should continue this struggle for unifying their country into a nation. So this is the call given by Mazzini. Are you there with me? Clear? Right? Can I move on? So in the first war, this is called the First Independence War. Charles Albert, instigated by Cavour, declared war against Austria, but Austria defeated him. And monarchy lost its face. People look up to Mazzini for leadership. And Mazzini told the people, you should continue the struggle for unification, even though the king has been defeated. Then we move on. We have the changed attitude of the Pope. Now you see here, we just now looked at it. Pope Pius IX. Pope Pius IX had given liberal reforms in the papal states. But then suddenly the Pope changed his mind and he became a reactionary. He took back all those liberal reforms, right? So this alienated the people. People felt out of sorts now. They felt lost because suddenly the Pope is showing dictatorial tendencies. So that is a time when we have Mazzini attacking the papal states. Mazzini was assisted by Garibaldi. Garibaldi had come back from South America. And Garibaldi, please understand, had an army. He had a private army called 1,000 Red Shirts, though their number was more than 1,000, but popularly called 1,000 Red Shirts. They used to wear red color shirts, and they were about 3,000 militia. He had an army of about 3,000 militia. Right. Now, with the help of Garibaldi's army, this Mazzini occupies the papal state. He occupies Rome, right? He occupied the papal states, and Rome was declared a republic. So Rome became a republic under Mazzini. Then we have again Cavour instigating Charles Albert. What if you have lost first time? Why don't you try second attempt to defeat Austria? No, again he instigated Charles Albert, and again Charles Albert declared war against Austria. This is the Battle of Novara. So you can see here on your screen, Battle of Custoza. This is number one. Battle of Custoza. This is number one, 1848. And in this Battle of Custoza, Austria had defeated Sardinia Piedmont. Charles Albert had been defeated. Next year, Battle of Novara. Right? Again, Charles Albert declares war against Austria. And again, Austria defeated Charles Albert. Second time, Charles Albert is defeated. Right? Now, what was the impact? Austrian authority was firmly established over Italy. Austria strengthened her grip over Italy. You see, Lombardy, Venetia, directly ruled by Austria. Central provinces, Parma, Modena, Tuscany, indirectly ruled by Austria. So she strengthened her grip over those areas. Number two, Ferdinand, the Bourbon king, strengthened his grip over the southern Italy. So he strengthened his grip over the southern Italy, that is the kingdom of Naples and Sicily, or two Sicilies. And then Napoleon III of France restored the Pope back in Rome. You remember here, you see here, Rome had been conquered by Mazzini with the help of Garibaldi's army. And Rome had been declared a republic. But then Napoleon III of France, that is Louis Bonaparte, nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte, had called himself Napoleon III. He had become the Emperor of France. He had removed the Republic, abolished the Republic rather, and he had established autocracy in France. And he had taken a new name, Napoleon III. Napoleon III wanted to get the support of the Roman Catholics within his country. He wanted the support of the Roman Catholics within France. So what he did is he restored the Pope back in the papal chair. He restored the Pope to his former authority. Did you understand? So here, all these developments happened between 1848 and 49, between 1847 and 49. Two wars were fought, Battle of Custoza and Novara. In both these wars, Austria defeated Charles Albert. Pope withdrew his liberal reforms in the Papal States, and that resulted in Mazzini conquering Rome. And Rome had been declared a republic. But then again, you have Napoleon III restoring the Pope back to his pristine position in the Vatican, in Rome. Now, we have a change in the nature of Italian nationalism. Please understand. Battle of Novara, Nilanjana, I said, second time Charles Albert was defeated by Austria. And that resulted in all the respective rulers in various parts of Italy strengthening their grip over Italy. You have in the northern parts Austria strengthening her grip over Lombardy, Venetia, and the central duchies. Then you have in the south, that is the Bourbon king Ferdinand strengthening his grip over southern Italy, that is Naples and Sicily. And Napoleon III restored the Pope back in Rome. Rome had been declared a republic by Mazzini, but now Napoleon III restored the Pope back in his chair with full powers and an army. Look here, you have a French army. A French army was stationed in Rome to give protection to the Pope. So France, why did he do this? He wanted to get the support of the Roman Catholics within France. Pope is the head of the Roman Catholics throughout the world. So he wanted to get the support of Roman Catholics within France, this Napoleon III. And therefore, he restored Pope back in his, in his chair in Rome. Okay. Kartika, I have already told you, Battle of Custoza. Battle of Custoza, this is the first battle where Austria defeated Charles Albert. And monarchy was, the monarch of Sardinia Piedmont could not show his face. So he was discredited. Credited means, he could not show his face. And you have impetus given to the Republican movement, and people looked up to Mazzini for direction. What to do now? You see, something like this. Remember this. Let us take the Indian example. Okay, 1942, Quit India movement. Okay, very classic example. August 8th, 1942, Mahatma Gandhi gave his do or die speech in the Gowalia Tank Maidan, Mumbai. Okay, and he also told the people of India that in case there is a possibility of, in case the leaders of the Congress are arrested by the British, the people of India should continue the struggle. They should not stop the struggle. Until we get our independence, we should continue our struggle. That is do or die speech. And Gandhi, and all the Congress leaders had known about this because whenever a mass movement had been begun in India, the British had taken away, they had arrested the Congress leaders and they had taken them and imprisoned them. The same thing happened during the Quit India movement. As soon as the speech was given on the 8th of August in 1942, by 9th morning, early morning next day, all the Congress leaders, including Gandhi, were arrested and taken to undisclosed locations. So the Quit India movement was a leaderless movement. There was no leader. It was the people of India who continued this struggle against the British. Similarly, here, when the king of Sardinia Piedmont was defeated by Austria, Mazzini is telling the people of Italy, you carry on the struggle. What if the king has been defeated? You should continue the struggle against Austria and try to achieve our unification. Did you understand? Okay, I move on here. Now, due to the defeats in the battles of Custoza and Novara, what happened? Look here on your screen. we have two battles in which Sardinia Piedmont was defeated. Sardinia Piedmont was defeated by Austria. So Austria won this war and Sardinia Piedmont was defeated. This resulted in Republicans getting discredited. So Republicans were discredited and Charles Albert abdicated his throne. So he gave up the throne and his son, Victor Emmanuel II, became the king of Sardinia Piedmont. So Victor Emmanuel II became the king. So you see here, Sardinia Piedmont was ruled by Victor Emmanuel I, followed by Charles Albert, right? And once Charles Albert gave up the throne, his son, Victor Emmanuel II, became the king of Sardinia Piedmont. And Victor Emmanuel II appointed Cavour as his prime minister. Cavour was made the prime minister by Victor Emmanuel II. Did you understand? So Cavour became his prime minister. And in both these wars, in the battles of Custoza and Novara, people from all parts of Italy had participated in these wars. They wanted to defeat Austria and kick out Austria from the soil of Italy. And this had given a sense of oneness. The people participating in these wars had given a sense of oneness to the Italians. But of course, they had been defeated by Austria. Okay, now look here. So we have two new leaders now. We have looked at Cavour, we have looked at Mazzini's contribution. Then we now look at Cavour's and Victor Emmanuel II's contribution. So Charles Albert, after getting defeated in these two wars, Custoza and Novara, gave up the throne, and his son, Victor Emmanuel II, became the king, and Cavour became the prime minister of Sardinia Piedmont. Now, okay, right? Now we move on. So this is Victor Emmanuel II on your screen. King Victor Emmanuel II of Sardinia Piedmont. Now, let us look at Cavour. Now, before Cavour, who was Cavour? He was the editor of the paper Il Risorgimento, and now he has become the prime minister of Sardinia Piedmont. So before Cavour came onto the scene, what was the slogan given by Charles Albert? Italia farà da sé. What is Italia farà da sé? Italy will do it alone. What will Italy do alone? Italy will alone drive away Austria from the soil of Italy. Twice Italians had tried to do that. Alone, they had tried to drive away Austria from the soil of Italy. But then Austria had thrashed them two times. In the battles of Custoza and Novara, both the times Austria had been defeated. Yeah, isn't it? Now, after getting defeated in these two battles, Italians realized Italia farà da sé is not possible. Italy will not, cannot do it alone. Italy cannot do it alone. We have to take external help. We have to seek the help of outsiders. We alone cannot drive away Austria from the soil of Italy. So under Cavour and Victor Emmanuel II, please understand, the Italian nationalism was guided by three factors. Italian nationalism, or the struggle of the Italians to unify themselves into a nation, was guided by three factors under Victor Emmanuel II and Cavour. Number one, diplomacy, dynasty, and wars. What is diplomacy? Take advantage of the European wars and seek external support. You see, many wars are going on in Europe. Many wars were going on. So the plan was to take advantage of those ongoing European wars and seek external assistance for the cause of Italian unification. This is number one. Number two, dynasty to provide the required leadership. That is Savoy royal family. The Savoy royal family, that is the kings of Sardinia Piedmont, should be the leader. So Cavour wanted to unify Italian peninsula under the leadership of the king of Sardinia Piedmont. Please understand, you remember what Bismarck did? Bismarck wanted the Prussian king to take the leadership in the cause of German unification. And once all the parts of Germany were unified, Prussia became United Germany. And the Prussian king became a unified German emperor. Similarly here, Cavour wanted the king of Sardinia Piedmont to take the leadership because he belonged to the local royal family of Italy, Savoy royal family. So dynasty to provide the required leadership and wars to realize unification. Wars are necessary. We have to fight wars to achieve unification. This is what Cavour realized along with Victor Emmanuel II. It is necessary to fight wars to drive away Austria from the soil of Italy. So under these two people, that is Cavour and Victor Emmanuel II, Italian nationalism was guided by three factors: diplomacy, dynasty, and wars. Now, what did Cavour do? He became the Prime Minister of Sardinia-Piedmont, mind you. What did he do? He strengthened Sardinia-Piedmont in all respects. You have agriculture being improved, industries being improved. Sardinia-Piedmont came to have a very strong army. He reorganized the army. So Sardinia-Piedmont came to have a strong army of 90,000. He abolished feudalism, right? He abolished feudalism, introduced press freedom. He gave a lot of liberal reforms to his people. And he made Sardinia-Piedmont a very, very strong country, right? A strong state. So internally, he strengthened Sardinia-Piedmont in all respects. And then he turned to diplomacy. Understand this, please? He turned to diplomacy. I told you, Italian unification was guided by three factors: diplomacy, dynasty, and wars. Right? I told you, Ankita, earlier, Italia Farà da sé slogan had been given by Charles Albert. But now Charles Albert had been succeeded by Victor Emmanuel II. And Italia Farà da sé had not worked for the Italians. Right? Now we'll come back here. So we have the so-called Crimean War, which broke out. Now, why it broke out, etc. When I do this topic called Eastern Question, I'll discuss about it. Now, Crimean War was fought between England, France, and Turkey versus Russia. On your screen, you can see here, England, France, Turkey versus Russia. Right? So where was this war fought? In the Crimean Peninsula. Crimean Peninsula of Russia. This war was going on. Crimean War. Now, what Cavour did is, he sent about 15,000 to 18,000 Sardinia-Piedmont troops to help England, France, and Turkey. They never asked any help from Cavour and Sardinia-Piedmont, but he on his own sent 15,000 to 18,000 Sardinia-Piedmont troops to help England, France, and Turkey against Russia. And this was very much appreciated by England, France, and Turkey. And Russia was defeated in the Crimean War. And we have the Paris Peace Conference, which was called. We have the Paris Peace Conference. The Peace of Paris, 1856. You have a peace conference at Paris, which brought the Crimean War to an end. And all the delegates of Europe were assembled there. So they were participating in the Paris Peace Conference, which had brought the Crimean War to an end. So you have a chair given to England, a chair given to France, a chair given to Turkey, Russia, etc. And also a chair given to Sardinia-Piedmont. Cavour went and sat on that chair in the Paris Peace Conference. And there, in front of everybody, the whole of Europe is represented in that Paris Peace Conference. He gave a speech. Right? What is the speech he gave? In that speech, he educated the delegates how Austria was repeatedly interfering in Italian affairs and preventing the Italians from unifying themselves into a nation. In other words, the Italian question became a European question. So he blew up the whole issue. Nobody knew in Europe how Austria was preventing the Italians from unifying themselves into a nation. So he used this opportunity in the Paris Peace Conference, and he gave a speech wherein he told all the delegates that Austria was preventing the Italians from unifying themselves into a nation. And everybody came to know what Austria was up to within the Italian peninsula. And England and France told Austria to mind Italian interests. You take care of the Italian aspirations and interests and behave yourself. So England and France are telling Austria to take care or respect the Italian sentiments. So you see on your screen, what is a speech given by Cavour? Austria is the arch enemy of Italian independence, the permanent danger to the only free nation of Italy, the nation which I have the honor to represent. So he educated the delegates, and you have a lot of sympathy for the cause of Italian unification among the people of Europe. Right? Now, did you understand? All of you till here, are you clear? So Austria was a very powerful country. Crimean War, again, I told you, Nikhil, you see here, Crimean War was fought between England, France, and Turkey. So England, France, Turkey versus Russia. This war is going on. And what did Cavour do? He sent about 15,000 to 18,000 Sardinia Piedmont troops to support England, France, and Turkey. And in the Crimean War, Russia was defeated. And in the Paris Peace Conference, which brought the Crimean War to an end, he was able to also represent Sardinia Piedmont. And in that conference, he educated the people of Europe in that conference how Austria was interfering in Italian affairs and preventing the Italians from unifying themselves into a nation. Okay, did you understand? So he has blown up the entire issue. Now look here. Now I will be explaining the story of Italian unification through a map. Okay, it will be very easy for you to understand. I have done the same thing with respect to German unification. Once I'll explain the story, then we will come to the PPT and discuss. Is it okay? So is that fine with you guys, all of you? So I will explain this story. Yeah, Isha, you can. Okay, now we'll come back here. So look at here. We have a secret oral agreement. So once he was able to educate the European countries about Austria's mischief in the Italian peninsula, how Austria was preventing the Italians from unifying themselves into a nation, we have a secret oral agreement. Mind you, secret oral agreement. Nothing is written on paper. This is an agreement between Cavour and the King of France, the Emperor of France, Napoleon III. And this is called the Plombiers Agreement. The Plombiers Agreement. Understand this, please. On your screen. On your screen, I request your attention. So this was a agreement between Napoleon III of France and Cavour. So Cavour is the king of he is the prime minister of Sardinia Piedmont. So I'll write here Cavour and I've written N3 here. N3 is Napoleon III. So what is this Plombiers Agreement? Number one, understand this. France to help Sardinia Piedmont in driving out Austria from Lombardy and Venetia. I repeat, France to help Sardinia Piedmont in driving out Austria from Lombardy and Venetia. This is number one. Number two, in return, what will France get? France will be given Savoy and Nice. You see here, I'll be using the PPT also simultaneously. Napoleon to help Sardinia Piedmont to drive out Austria from Lombardy and Venetia. In return, what will France get? France will get Savoy and Nice. Where is Savoy and Nice? You see, this is Savoy and Nice. Right? Then Rome and Naples should not be touched. Where is Rome? Rome is here. Rome and Naples should not be touched. So I repeat, France to help Sardinia Piedmont in driving out Austria from Lombardy and Venetia. You remember, Austria was directly ruling over Lombardy and Venetia. So he is telling, you help us to kick out Austria from Lombardy and Venetia. We will give you Savoy and Nice in return. France will get Savoy and Nice as a reward. Number three, Rome and Naples should not be touched. And then once he told this to Napoleon III of France, Napoleon III put a condition. Understand this, please. Napoleon III of France put a condition. Napoleon III of France told Cavour, definitely France will help Sardinia Piedmont, but only and only if Austria is the aggressor. If Austria is the first to attack Sardinia Piedmont, only when Austria attacks Sardinia Piedmont, then France will come to the assistance of Sardinia. This is the condition put by France. Do you understand? You see here, Napoleon added a caveat. What was the caveat? To help only in case of Austrian aggression. Now, what is the reason for this? Please understand this. See, if France declares war against Austria, then she will be seen as an aggressor. France and Austria are having good relations. They have good diplomatic relations, France and Austria. Now, Cavour is telling France to help Sardinia Piedmont in driving away Austria from Lombardy, Venetia. Right? So, France is telling Cavour that only if Austria attacks Sardinia Piedmont, only then France will come to the assistance of Sardinia Piedmont. Why did he put this condition? Because France has to explain to the whole of Europe why they are fighting against Austria. France can tell Europe that we have good relations with Sardinia Piedmont. And since Austria has attacked Sardinia Piedmont, we are only helping Sardinia Piedmont. Did you understand? Hello, can you raise your hands? Did you understand what I just now told you? Clear? Right. So this is the condition put by France, and Cavour agreed. Cavour agreed to this condition. Right, now look here. So agreed to this condition. So here you see so Napoleon to help only in case of Austrian aggression. Now we have Cavour making a statement. In fact, two statements. The drama approaches its climax. So he has his own plans. He has made his diplomatic plans. So he tells his friend the drama approaches its climax. In a letter, he writes it to a friend, and then he also says, whether we like it or not, our destinies depend upon France. You see, Sardinia, Piedmont has to take the help of France. We have no choice. That's what he's telling. Whether we like it or not, our destinies depend upon France. Now, he has to, so he made military preparations now. Cavour made military preparations. He has already strengthened Sardinia, Piedmont in all other respects, economically, agriculturally, industrially, and militarily. So he made further military preparations. And then he had to fulfill the condition put by Napoleon. What was the condition? To see that Austria attacks Sardinia, Piedmont. And he has to instigate Austria, right? He has to irritate Austria so that Austria declares war against Sardinia Piedmont. Only then France will help Sardinia Piedmont. So how did he, how did he mastermind this? Now look here. You have, you see, you have. I'll clear this. You see here. This is Lombardy. You see here. This is the border, right? Sardinia Piedmont is here. This is Lombardy for you, right? This is the Lombardy border, and Lombardy and Venetia directly ruled by Austria. So what it began to do is there is to be trade between Sardinia, Piedmont, and Austria through Lombardy. So there is to be trade between Sardinia, Piedmont, and Austria through Lombardy. And Lombardy and Venetia are directly ruled by Austria. You all know that. So he imposed heavy taxes. No, so he increased the tariffs. He increased the tariffs on Austrian goods. Then he began to make press attacks. He began to criticize Austria in the press in Lombardy and Venetia. Then thirdly, he mobilized his troops. He increased the number of troops on the Austrian border. So he has increased the size of the Sardinia Piedmont troops on the Austrian border, right? And when he did this, Austria demanded demobilization. So he was trying to irritate Austria, and he has increased the size of the troops on the Austrian border. Austria demanded demobilization. Austria told Sardinia, you remove those troops, otherwise we will declare war, right? Cavour did not remove those troops. He did not demobilize. Austria declared war against Sardinia. So imagine this. Let's take a hypothetical example. India, Pakistan. And let us say suddenly Pakistan decides to deploy about 50,000 troops on our Indian border. So what will we think? We will think that they are getting ready for a war. So if our troops are only 10,000, we will also increase our troops. But we will first tell Pakistan, you remove those troops. Otherwise, we will also increase our troops and there might be a war. And if Pakistan doesn't remove those troops, that means they are getting ready for a war, right? Similarly here, he has mobilized the troops on the Austro-Sardinian border. And Austria demanded demobilization. Please remove those troops. Cavour refused. Austria declared war against Sardinia, literally playing into the hands of Cavour. That's what he wanted. He wanted Austria to first declare war so that he can get the help of France. So this is what happened. You see here. So Cavour made military preparations, right? So he increased the tariffs on the Austrian border. He made press attacks, and he began to foment disaffection in Lombardy and Venetia against Austria. And he also mobilized the troops. So provoked beyond tolerance, Austria demanded demobilization or war, and he did not remove those troops. Austria declared war on Sardinia Piedmont and became the aggressor. And he was jumping with joy. Cavour is supposed to have said, the die is cast and we have made history. The die is cast, that is, die, bazi. The bazi is cast and we have made history. So he was, everything was happening according to his plan. So he was jumping with joy, rather. So you have a war which breaks out now between Austria and Sardinia. And Sardinia is supported by France as well as Garibaldi. Garibaldi had come back from South America. So you see on your screen, we have the Austro-Sardinian War. This is called the Second Independence War. The Battle of Custoza In 1848, we have the Battle of Custoza, which had happened. Custoza. This Custoza war was the first independence war. In 1859, we have the Austro-Sardinian War. And in the battles of Magenta and Solferino, understand this place? In the battles of Magenta and Solferino, Austria was defeated. Sardinia Piedmont, supported by France and Garibaldi, defeated Austria. And we have the occupation of Lombardy. You see here on your screen, Lombardy was conquered. You see here, Lombardy was occupied by Sardinia, right? Lombardy was occupied. What was the condition? Remember the secret oral agreement between Napoleon III and Cavour? France should help Sardinia in driving away Austria from Lombardy and Venetia. In return, France will get Savoy and Nice. So now Austria has been defeated and Lombardy has been occupied. When Sardinian troops were about to occupy Venetia, understand this place. When Sardinia was about to occupy Venetia, Napoleon III of France called halt. He said stop. He said stop. Napoleon III called halt. And Cavour was surprised because the plan was to drive away Austria from both Lombardy and Venetia. That was the agreement with France. But here Napoleon III is telling Sardinia not to go further and not to try to conquer Venetia. What had happened in the interim? When this war was going on between Sardinia and Austria, secretly, please understand, Napoleon III of France had entered into a treaty with Austria. This is called the Treaty of Villafranca. The Treaty of Villafranca. The Treaty of Villafranca. Understand this, please. So we have a treaty called the Treaty of Villafranca. Under this Treaty of Villafranca, understand this, Austria is going to hand over Lombardy. So Austria is going to give away Lombardy to France, and France in turn are going to hand over Lombardy to Sardinia. So I repeat, according to the Treaty of Villafranca between Austria and France, Austria is going to hand over Lombardy to France, and France in turn will hand over Lombardy to Sardinia Piedmont. Venetia will be retained by Austria. Venetia will remain with Austria. This is the secret treaty which Napoleon III of France had entered with Austria, and Cavour did not know this. Now, when he came to know about this, he got very, very angry. Now, the question is, why had Napoleon III of France entered into a treaty with Austria? Understand this, please. In the midst of the war, when the war was going on between Sardinia and Austria, there was a change in the mind of the French monarch. The French monarch thought that if Sardinia Piedmont gets Lombardy and Venetia, then there'll be a very powerful country next to France. Imagine this. You see here, Sardinia Piedmont manages to conquer Lombardy and Venetia. France will be encouraging the birth of a powerful country next to her. And tomorrow, there may be a problem for France from Sardinia Piedmont. This is number one. Number two is, he was not used to the grim realities of war. He was not used to the grim realities of war. During this war between Sardinia and Austria, a number of French troops had died. France was supporting Sardinia. A number of French troops had died. And that had made him very, very sad. He had never understood the grim realities of war. And thirdly, when this war was going on between Sardinia and Austria, Prussia was getting ready to help Austria, which he had never anticipated. Prussia was getting ready to help Austria, and France had never anticipated that. So therefore, he had signed this treaty with, secret treaty with Austria. Did you understand, all of you? No, it's South America. Did you understand? Clear? Did you get me that? I repeat. Yeah, Abhishek, so all of you have understood, most of you have understood. I'll come back here, understand this. Again, I repeat. On your screen, you see, according to the original plan, France should, keep on looking at the map, please. Keep on looking at the map. According to the original plan, France should help Sardinia in getting Lombardy and Venetia from Austria. In return, what will France get? France will get Savoy and Nice. Right? You are very clear about that. Now, after defeating Austria, right, in the battles of Solferino and Magenta, Lombardy was occupied by Sardinia. When they were about to occupy Venetia, you have Napoleon III of France stopping Sardinia from doing so. Why? Because he had entered into a secret treaty with Austria called the Treaty of Villafranca. Under this Treaty of Villafranca, Austria will give away Lombardy to France, and France in turn will hand over Lombardy to Sardinia. Austria was reluctant to give away Lombardy directly to Sardinia. So Austria said, we will give Lombardy to France, and France should hand over Lombardy to Sardinia. Venetia will remain with Austria. Venetia will remain with Austria. And what was the reason for this secret treaty? I told you 3 reasons. One is, he was not used to the grim realities of war. A number of French troops had died. Right? Number 2 is, he was afraid that he might create a very strong and powerful Sardinia Piedmont next to France. And tomorrow, there may be a danger from Sardinia Piedmont for France. And thirdly, Prussia was getting ready to help Austria. When France was supporting Sardinia, Prussia was trying to support Austria, and she was getting ready to support Austria. And things could go out of proportion and blow out of proportion. Therefore, he had signed this treaty. So please understand, Cavour, when he came to know about this Villafranca treaty, he was very, very angry with Napoleon III of France. He told his king, Victor Emmanuel II, let us repudiate that treaty. We have nothing to do with that Villafranca treaty. Let us go and occupy Venetia forcibly. But Victor Emmanuel II told Cavour to stop. He said he will not listen to Cavour. Now, I'll ask you a question. What will happen if Cavour tries to occupy Venetia forcibly? Lombardy already has become part of Sardinia now. Right? Now, if they try to occupy Venetia forcibly, what will happen? Anybody can answer this? If Cavour tries to occupy Venetia, what will happen? There could be a war with Austria. There could be a war with Austria, and France will also get involved because France and Austria have a treaty, isn't it? So the whole national cause will collapse, and that's why Cavour, Victor Emmanuel II never listened to Cavour, and Cavour resigned in protest. He resigned in protest. Now we look here on your screen. I'll come back to the PPT here. So on your screen, try to follow this, please. So here, battles of Magenta and Solferino. We have Sardinia Piedmont defeating Austria. Lombardy was occupied, but not Venetia. Why? Because of this Treaty of Villafranca. This was an agreement between Napoleon III of France and King of Austria, Francis Joseph, according to which Austria was to cede Lombardy to France, who in turn would give away it to Sardinia, but Austria to retain Venetia. Right? Now, Cavour demanded Victor Emmanuel II to repudiate this treaty. He wanted to occupy Venetia forcibly, but his king stopped him. So Cavour resigned in protest. So we have the leadership qualities displayed by Victor Emmanuel II. If Cavour had attacked Venetia, if Sardinia Piedmont had tried to occupy Venetia forcibly, there could have been a war where not only France will attack Sardinia, even Austria will attack Sardinia, and the whole national cause will collapse. Right? And Victor Emmanuel II showed sound judgment and leadership qualities. He did not listen to Cavour. But understand one thing, we have Lombardy becoming a part of Sardinia Piedmont. This is the first addition to Sardinia Piedmont. Lombardy became a part of Sardinia Piedmont. This is number 1. So they were able to occupy Lombardy. Venetia remained with Austria. And since Napoleon III of France had not fully fulfilled his promise, he had not allowed Sardinia to occupy Piedmont, according to their original Plombiers Treaty, oral secret treaty between Cavour and France. Savoy and Nice remained with Sardinia Piedmont. Savoy and Nice was not given to France. Did you understand? This is number 1. This is number 1. So Lombardy became part of Sardinia Piedmont. Are you there with me, all of you? Clear? So Lombardy on your screen. Again, I go back to the map. Lombardy, this is number 1. Lombardy became part of Sardinia Piedmont. So this is the first addition to Sardinia Piedmont. Now, look here. In two battles, Austria had been defeated, Magenta and Solferino, right? So once Magenta in these two battles, Austria had been defeated. The central duchies were up in flame. What are the central duchies? All of you? Parma, Modena, Tuscany. They were up in flames. People revolted against their kings because Austria was ruling over the central duchies indirectly. So Parma, Modena, Tuscany, and Romagna, they repudiated their rulers. They rebelled against their rulers, and they established a provisional government, temporary government. And in a plebiscite, they voted to join Sardinia Piedmont. This is number two. So Parma, Modena, Tuscany, and Romagna agreed to join Sardinia Piedmont. This is number two. And did you understand? All of you, clear? You see here on your screen, annexation of central duchies. Austrian defeats at Magenta and Solferino resulted in Parma, Modena, Tuscany, and Romagna rebelling against their rulers. They expelled their rulers. Even in Romagna, Pope's authority was repudiated, disrespected. And all the four of them, Parma, Modena, Tuscany, Romagna, set up a provisional government, temporary government, and through a plebiscite, through voting, they agreed to join Sardinia Piedmont. This is number two. And this is the time when Cavour felt that he requires the support of France. He wanted France to be neutral. So what he did is he gave away Savoy and Nice to France. Savoy and Nice were given away to France by the Treaty of Turin. Remember this. Earlier he had not given Savoy and Nice because Venetia still remained with Austria. Venetia should have been part of Sardinia. Now, after Parma, Modena, Tuscany, and Romagna, in a plebiscite, agreed to join Sardinia, he gave away Savoy and Nice to France because it was necessary to get the support of France. That's what he felt. Did you understand? So, except Venetia, entire northern Italy had been merged into Sardinia Piedmont. Look at the map, please. Except Venetia, entire northern Italy, that is Lombardy, Parma, Modena, Tuscany, Romagna, became part of Sardinia Piedmont. Clear? This is number two. Then we come down south. You see, this is the time when we have England and Napoleon supporting the cause of Italian unification. England told Austria and also Prussia, don't try to interfere in Italian affairs. It is their business. So therefore, you keep your hands off. At the same time, Napoleon supported the annexation of the central duchies to Sardinia. So Parma, Modena, Tuscany, and Romagna, when they in a plebiscite agreed to join Sardinia Piedmont, Cavour sent troops into Parma, Modena, Tuscany, and Romagna. He sent troops into central duchies, including Romagna, and he occupied them. And France approved the annexation of the central duchies and Romagna because she had got Savoy and Nice, and France was very happy. And so England and France were supporting Italian unification movement, and this immobilized Austria. So except Venetia, entire north of Italy had been united. Okay, this is number two. Clear, all of you? Cavour had resigned, but he quickly understood his king was right. You see, I have given this here. Cavour resigned in protest. He resigned in protest, but returned to office in January 1860. He understood his king was so right. If we had attacked Venetia, then France and Austria would have attacked Sardinia Piedmont, and the whole national cause would have collapsed. So he understood and appreciated the leadership qualities shown by his king. Right? So he was again back as Prime Minister of Sardinia Piedmont. Okay. Now we come to Garibaldi's role. You see here, Garibaldi, Joseph Garibaldi or Giuseppe Garibaldi. So now see, after the Villafranca Treaty, the secret treaty between France and Austria, Cavour's heart was in pain. He felt that he had been let down by France. That's why he makes a statement. You see here, they have stopped me from making Italy by diplomacy from the north. I will make it by revolution from the south. They have stopped me from making Italy by diplomacy from the north. I will make it by revolution from the south. Now let us understand the meaning of this. On your screen, you see this wonderful man called Garibaldi. Now, who was this man, Garibaldi? Let us understand a little bit about his background. He was born in Nice. You see, He was born in Nice. Where is Nice? This is Nice. So you have Nice. So he was born in Nice, and his parents wanted him to become a priest. They wanted him to become a priest, but he had a inclination for sea life. He was adventurous minded. He wanted to take to sea life. Now, in his youth, he joined Mazzini's Young Italy, the secret society established by Mazzini, and he participated in the Savoy Revolt. But then he was, that the Savoy Revolt was suppressed by Austria, and he was exiled for 14 years. So 14 years, he went away to South America, and he lived there in South America as an exile. After 14 years, he returned back and he helped Mazzini in conquering Rome. Remember, Mazzini had occupied Rome once the Pope had withdrawn all his reforms, liberal reforms. So he helped Mazzini with his army to conquer Rome, and Rome had been declared a republic. But again, because of the hostile attitude of Austria, he again went into exile. But in 1854, he was again back in the Italian peninsula. Now understand this, that is his background. Now in 1860, you see here, we have the kingdom of the two Sicilies. What is the kingdom of the two Sicilies? Naples and Sicily. This is called Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, ruled by Bourbon king Ferdinand and Francis. Now, the people of Sicily in 1860, people of Sicily revolted against their Bourbon king, Francis II. You see here on your screen, so Sicilians revolted against their Bourbon king, Francis II. And they appealed to Garibaldi. They told Garibaldi, please help us against this Bourbon king so that we can get rid of his rule. So Garibaldi, with his private army, it was called 1,000 Red Shirts, right, or I Mille. So he, with his army, occupied Sicily. He occupies Sicily, crosses the mainland, occupies Naples. So he was able to conquer both Sicily and Naples. Who? Garibaldi, after defeating the Bourbon king, Francis II. And without anybody's consent, Garibaldi starts marching with his army to attack Rome. Remember this. He understand this, please. He began to march on Rome. So he conquers Sicily, he conquers Naples, then he began to march on Rome to conquer Rome. Now, when Cavour came to know about this, he was shocked. That's why Cavour makes a statement. Italy must be saved from foreigners, evil principles, and madman. He called Garibaldi a madman. Understand this. Italy must be saved from foreigners, evil principles. Evil principles is, you see, Garibaldi was a person who believed in republicanism. He was a supporter of republicanism. He wanted Italy to become a republic, not a monarchy. Whereas Cavour wanted the king of Sardinia Piedmont to become the leader of the Italian unification movement. So he wanted the unification under the leadership of monarch, Victor Emmanuel II. So here, Garibaldi might give the entire movement a republican character. And if he attacks Rome, what will happen? Who was protecting the Pope at Rome? All of you? Who was protecting the Pope at Rome? France. You remember? Napoleon III had deployed French troops there. So France was protecting Rome and the Pope. If Garibaldi attacks Rome, there will be a possibility of a war with France. And the entire national cause will collapse. His whole plans will get chopped. It'll get spoiled. So you have Garibaldi telling Victor Emmanuel II, go, sir, go with your army and stop that fellow, mad fellow. He will spoil all my plans. So Victor Emmanuel II took his army and he attacked the Papal States. Understand this, please. You see here on your screen, I come back to the original map where I have shown you. Just hold on. So you see here on your screen, number one is Lombardy became part of Sardinia Piedmont. Then Parma, Modena, Tuscany, and Romagna had joined Sardinia Piedmont. What are the papal states we are talking about? Rome, Romagna, Umbria, and Marches. These are the papal states, isn't it? Now, Romagna already had become part of Sardinia Piedmont. You see, this is Romagna. Now, when Garibaldi, after having conquered Naples and Sicily, began to march on Rome, we have Victor Emmanuel II attacking the Papal States. And Victor Emmanuel II conquered Umbria and the Marches. So he conquers Umbria and the Marches. And he stops Garibaldi from attacking Rome. Right? So here Garibaldi simply handed Sicily and Naples to his king. He gave away Sicily and Naples to his king. And with just a bag of seeds, he retired to do agriculture to his island home called Caprera. You see on your screen? So Garibaldi, so here, what does Cavour say? Italy must be saved from foreigners, evil principles, and madman. So here we have, if Garibaldi attacks Rome, there'll be a possibility of a war with France, and he might give the movement a republican character. Therefore, Cavour sent Victor Emmanuel II to stop Garibaldi. Victor Emmanuel invaded the Papal States, occupied Umbria and Marches. Garibaldi surrendered Sicily and Naples and retired to Caprera to do agriculture. So you can see here, Garibaldi is handing over Sicily and Naples to his king, Victor Emmanuel II. Did you understand? See, so I go back to the map here. Number one, Lombardy became part of Sardinia Piedmont. After that, Parma, Modena, Tuscany, Romagna rebelled against their rulers and joined Sardinia Piedmont in a plebiscite. Number three, we have Victor Emmanuel II conquering Umbria and Marches. Naples and Sicily already had been conquered by Garibaldi, right? And he hands over Naples and Sicily to Victor Emmanuel II. So only two areas remain to be incorporated into Italy. What are those two areas? Garibaldi was from Nice, Kartika. No, that's why when Nice was given away, you see here, when Nice was given away to France by Cavour, Garibaldi is supposed to have cried. You see here, these are the words of Garibaldi. You have made me a foreigner in the land of my birth. That's what he cried. You see, Savoy and Nice was given away to France by Cavour, and Garibaldi began to cry because Nice was his hometown. That was his native place, and Nice became part of France. And even now, Nice and Savoy are part of France because of the Treaty of Turin in 1860. Did you understand? Are it all of you? So only two areas remain to be incorporated into Italy on your screen: Venice and Rome. Only two areas remain to be incorporated. Venice is one, that is Venetia, and Rome. Venetia and Rome remained to be incorporated. All the other parts of Italy had become part of Italy, right? Sardinia, Piedmont. And this is the time when Cavour dies. You see, this is the time when Cavour dies. We have the first Italian parliament which met. So except Venetia and Rome, all of Italy had been united. We have the first parliament which met at Turin. Just hold on. I'll give you a break. Let me finish this chapter. This is just about 5-10 minutes, and then we can go for a break. We have the first Italian parliament which met at Turin. This is the first Italian parliament meeting at Turin. And in this parliament, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed king of Italy. And in June 1861, we had the death of Cavour. Cavour is called the Bismarck of Italy. He used diplomacy. Mainly, he used diplomacy to achieve unification of major parts of Italy. It was the work of Cavour. Major parts of Italy had been unified by him into Sardinia Piedmont. So you see here on your screen, this is the funeral procession of Cavour. The funeral procession. It is raining heavily, and people are standing with umbrellas and giving their final goodbye to Cavour. Right now, and what was the last words of Cavour before he closed his eyes forever? I believe these are the last words. Italy is made and all is safe. Italy is made, all is safe. These are the last and final words of Cavour before he died. So, except Venetia and Rome, entire Italy had been unified. Only two areas remain to be tackled. And now look here on your screen. Venetia and Rome remained to be incorporated. Victor Emmanuel II neither had the strength nor the courage to fight against France or Austria. Venetia, you see here on your screen, Venetia was under the control of Austria. And Rome, you have the Pope in Rome, given protection by France. So Sardinia Piedmont, the king of Sardinia Piedmont, Victor Emmanuel II, neither had the strength or the courage to defeat or fight against either France or Austria. What did he do? He simply kept quiet. He was waiting for the right opportunity, the right time. And the right time came 4 years later. 4 years later, when in 1866, we have the Austro-Prussian War, yesterday's class, unification of Germany, right? Bismarck first defeated Denmark, remember? And then he had to wage war against Austria. He neutralized Austria. Who were the possible friends of Austria? France, Italy, and Russia. And he told the Italians, if you remain neutral, we will help you to get Venetia from Austria. So Victor Emmanuel II now supported Bismarck of Prussia. So when the Austro-Prussian War broke out, Victor Emmanuel II supported Bismarck, right? And this is called the Third Unification War. The first was the Custoza War, 1848. Second was the Austro-Sardinian War, 1859. And the third is this Austro-Prussian War. In this Austro-Prussian War, war between Prussia and Austria, Austria was defeated by Prussia. Bismarck defeated Austria. And once Austria was defeated, he ordered Austria to hand over Venetia to Italy. So Victor Emmanuel, you see, in the Battle of Sodova, Austria was defeated, and Austria was ordered to give away Venetia to Victor Emmanuel II. You have a referendum. You have a referendum which was held in Venetia, and people of Venetia voted to join Sardinia Piedmont. So Venetia now became a part of Sardinia Piedmont. Only one more area remained to be incorporated, that is Rome. And again, Victor Emmanuel II did not have the courage nor the strength to fight against France. So what did he do? He simply waited for the right time. And the time came in 1870-71, when you have Prussia declaring war against France, the Franco-Prussian War, 1870, in the Battle of Sedan. So when the Franco-Prussian War broke out, Prussia told Italy, if you remain neutral, we will help you to get Rome from France. And Victor Emmanuel II supported Prussia, supported Bismarck. In the Battle of Sedan, France was losing. And I told you, Napoleon III of France had deployed French troops in Rome to guard the Pope, to give protection to Pope. So once in the Battle of Sedan, France was losing against Prussia, he withdrew all those troops from Rome and put them on the battle against France. He put them on the battle against Prussia. I'm sorry, he put them on the battle against Prussia. Victor Emmanuel simply marched his troops into Rome and occupied Rome. Okay, the Pope withdrew himself into the Vatican, calling himself as a prisoner of the Vatican. There was a plebiscite. A plebiscite took place at in Rome and Latium, and the people of Rome and Latium agreed to join Sardinia Piedmont. And by the Treaty of Frankfurt, 1871, we have the recognition of the birth of a new country, namely Italy. Are you there with me? This is the Italian unification movement. It was the work of four people. Mazzini made the people of Italy believe in themselves, that unification is possible. And then he put enthusiasm back into the people of Italy to fight for their unification. Then, of course, you have Cavour, who used diplomacy to unify major parts of Italy. And except Venice and Rome, almost the whole of Italy had been unified by Cavour, and Cavour died. Garibaldi added southern Italy, Naples and Sicily, to Sardinia Piedmont. And then, of course, we have Victor Emmanuel II doing the rest. He conquered Umbrian marches, and then you have Venetia and Rome, which also became part of Italy after the defeat of Austria and France, respectively. Are you there with me? You have a referendum which was held in Venetia, right? And people of Venetia agreed to join Sardinia Piedmont. Ankita, did you understand? Clear? Now, all of you, so what you should do is you go back and revise. Go back and revise. Read the PPTs, right? So remember one, Lombardy, then that Plombiers agreement, then Lombardy, right? Lombardy became part of Sardinia Piedmont. Then we had the Central Duchies becoming part of Sardinia Piedmont. Then Naples and Sicily becoming part of Sardinia Piedmont. And finally, Venetia and Rome. Now, we will compare German and Italian unification movements. I quote your attention. I know you may be wanting a break. Let us finish this chapter. Okay, give me 5-10 minutes. Very important, just in case a question comes. So we'll go in the flow. Okay, and we'll start with Industrial Revolution after the break. Look here on your screen. Similarities between German and Italian unification movements, differences, and then we'll come to Cavour and Garibaldi, Cavour and Bismarck's comparison on your screen. What are the similarities between these two unification movements? Central theme and aim of both these unification movements was attainment of national unity. So they both wanted to achieve unification for their country, right? This is number one. Number two, disunity was there in both the countries, both in Germany as well as Italy. Inspiration for both these unification movements was the French Revolution of 1789, the Napoleonic Wars, the Congress of Vienna, and the French Revolutions of 1830 and 1848. Then the course, till 1848, they were unsuccessful in their attempts. We have seen both in Germany and Italy. Till 1848, till the revolution in France, they were unsuccessful. After 1848, they achieved their goals through military operations. They had to fight wars to achieve their unification. Further, you have leadership of one state. In the case of Germany, leadership was provided by Prussia. In the case of Italy, it was Sardinia Piedmont. Then you have the leadership of one king and one minister. In Germany, leadership was provided by King Wilhelm I and his minister president Bismarck. Whereas in Italy, it was Victor Emmanuel II and his prime minister Cavour. And the hurdle for both these unification movements was common, Austria. Austria was like the kebab mein haddi for both the unification movements. These are the similarities. Clear? Okay. Now, what is the difference between referendum and plebiscite? Hello, class? Polity question here. Ankita, it is one of the one of the islands of Italy. Don't bother about it. Where is Caprera and all that? That was his hometown. He went away there to do agriculture. Nikhil says both are the same. Kartika says voting. Now, if both are the same, why are they named separately, Nikhil? Just think about it. See, plebiscite, voting by people is plebiscite. Then what about the referendum? Who will vote in referendum? Referendum is when people voted in one idea. Referendum for parliamentary issue. Okay, I'll tell you whatever I know. Okay, you might ask the polity expert, but I'll tell you whatever I know. Plebiscite is voting, of course, by people, but then it is not a free atmosphere. It is not a free atmosphere. You have, for example, we have plebiscites conducted by Mussolini and Hitler in Germany, Hitler in Germany and Mussolini in Italy. So when a voting is called by a dictator like Hitler or Mussolini, people will generally vote keeping the sentiments of the dictator into consideration. They will not say no, they will say yes to the dictator. So it is a forced voting here. Because if the dictator comes to know that people have gone against him, he might harm them. So generally, it is in that atmosphere where that voting takes place. That is plebiscite. Referendum is in a very free atmosphere where, the opponents as well as the proponents, somebody who's proposing voting and the opponents, they have an even ground. And voting can go either way, right? In favor or against the proponent or opponent, respectively. So it is in a much more freer atmosphere, referendum. This is my understanding of plebiscite and referendum. Okay, that's the difference. Now we'll come back here. These are the similarities between German and Italian unification movements. Now we come back here. Differences. Let us understand the differences between these two unification movements. What are the differences? On your screen. So, strength of leading states. You see here, strength of leading states. Prussia was a very powerful country, whereas Sardinia was very, very weak. We have seen this. Italia farada se. Italy will do it alone, and they try to do it alone. Both the times they had been thrashed by Austria. So, it was a weak country. whereas Prussia was powerful. Strategy used. So, since Prussia was strong, Bismarck ensured the neutrality of other states to execute his plans. You remember the 3 wars Bismarck fought. When he fought against Denmark, he neutralized the friends of Denmark. So, who are the friends of Denmark according to Bismarck? England, France, and Russia. He neutralized them. Right. Then, when he fought against Austria, he neutralized the friends of Austria, France, Italy, and Russia. And when he fought against France, who are the friends of France? He neutralized Austria, Italy, and Russia. So he told these countries, you don't interfere when Prussia is fighting wars. You remain neutral. So he ensured their neutrality. Right. Whereas Sardinia Piedmont was weak and Cavour had to seek foreign assistance. We have seen this diplomacy, dynasty, and wars. He had to seek the assistance of France and other countries, right? At least emotional support from England, etc. So he had to seek foreign assistance. Further, on your screen, Austria was the common problem for both the unification movements. So you see, for Bismarck, it was a very big difficulty for him. It posed big diplomatic difficulty for Bismarck to oust Austria from German affairs. You see, the Austrian monarch was called Holy Roman Emperor. So he was nominally controlling the 300 German states, right? So to oust Austria from German affairs posed big diplomatic difficulties for Bismarck. Whereas for Cavour to oust Austria from Italian affairs posed no diplomatic difficulties. Further, we have foreign domination which was absent in Prussia. So Prussia was a very powerful country. Remember, the Rhinelands had been given away by the Congress of Vienna to Prussia, and Prussia had become very, very strong, both industrially and militarily, economically, agriculturally, in all respects, she was strong. So she held a commanding position and she was more united. And the Zollverein also added to the political union later. The commercial union also contributed towards political union later. So Prussia did not require the help of anybody. She was already a very powerful country. Bismarck only wanted other countries to remain neutral whenever Prussia went to war against other countries. Whereas for Cavour, you have foreign domination was very much present. Lombardy, Venetia, directly under Austria. The central duchies, Parma, Modena, Tuscany, indirectly under Austria. The Pope ruling over the papal states, and he was a very powerful entity throughout the Catholic world, the Pope. And without ousting the Pope or sidelining him, unification of Italy was not possible. Then we have the southern parts of Italy ruled by the Bourbon monarch. So foreign domination was very much present in Sardinia Piedmont. Did you understand the differences? Hello, all of you, clear? Then we go to Bismarck and Cavour. What are the differences here? Bismarck and Cavour. So let us understand the differences. Political ideals of these two people. Political ideals. So Cavour was a person who believed in parliamentary form of government. He was a liberal, was a lover of parliamentary form of government. Whereas Bismarck was an autocrat and a reactionary. He wanted a very powerful king. All the power should be in the hands of the king. He believed in a policy of blood and iron. Remember? And he says, remember the quotation of Bismarck. If there's a conflict between the king and the parliament, he's going to support the king and is prepared to give up his life for the sake of the king. So he was an autocrat and a reactionary, Bismarck. Then, number 2, attitude towards popular will. So here, Cavour gave importance to people's wills and plebiscites. Now go back to the unification movement of Italy. Initially, you see, when Lombardy became part of Sardinia Piedmont, you have a plebiscite conducted in Lombardy. So you have a voting taking place there. Similarly, Parma, Modena, Tuscany, Romagna, they rebelled against their rulers, right? And they established a provisional government, and in a plebiscite, they agreed to join Sardinia Piedmont, right? So he insisted on people's sentiments. Similarly, when Rome and Latium later agreed to join Sardinia Piedmont, a referendum was conducted there. And only when the people voted to join Sardinia Piedmont, then he sent troops and occupied occupied those areas. So Cavour gave a lot of importance to people's will and plebiscites, whereas Bismarck never cared for people's will. He believed in the policy of blood and iron, right? Remember this. He was a votary of force, and people's will counted for nothing. How do we know this? No, we are analyzing the unification movements here, right? Now look here. Bismarck first defeated Denmark. Okay, Schleswig and Holstein, they were taken away. Yesterday's class. Then he defeated Austria, and Austria had 21 states under her control, isn't it? 21 states. He established the North German Confederation. North German Confederation established, and all those German states north of the river Main were forcibly occupied by Bismarck and incorporated into the North German Confederation. We have certain states who were hostile. They never wanted to join the North German Confederation. Schleswig, Holstein, Hanover, etc. So what did he do? He sent troops into those areas and he forcibly occupied those states. So he never cared for the people's sentiments. He believed in force, brute force, and people's will counted for nothing. Right? Have I justified myself? Did you understand the connection here, all of you? Right? Then we have attitude towards popular will, attitude towards unification. Understand this, please. Cavour was an Italian first and then a Sardinian. So Cavour believed in a unified Italy. That was his dream, to see Italy a unified nation. So he was first an Italian and then a Sardinian. Whereas Bismarck was a Prussian first and then a German. You see, understand this, please. Please take down this statement. All of you, please take down this statement. It could be a quotation or they might ask you to explain this. Bismarck did not fight his wars to achieve German unification. Please take down this. Bismarck did not fight his wars to achieve German unification. Bismarck did not fight his wars to achieve German unification. In fact, he used the process of unification to fight his wars. In fact, he used the process of unification to fight his wars. Now, what is the meaning of this? You see, who are the very powerful countries during those days? Austria, Hungary, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and of course, France. These were the powerful countries. Now, first, Prussia defeated Denmark. Then, Prussia defeated Austria, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and finally defeated France. So, in trying to unify his country, he also wanted to defeat and sideline France as well as Austria-Hungary. And we have Germany becoming very, very powerful in Europe. So he used the process of German unification to defeat Austria as well as France. Did you understand? So he did not fight his wars to achieve German unification. In fact, he used the process of German unification to fight his wars. So he arranged it in such a manner that Prussia can defeat both Austria as well as France. And then we have a unified Germany, which went on to dominate Europe till the end of World War II, till the end of World War One, rather, till the end of World War One. You understand? So you have this is what is. Please repeat the statement. I said Bismarck did not fight his wars to achieve German unification. Bismarck did not fight his wars to achieve German unification. He used the process of German unification to fight his wars. Did you understand? So this is this was his aim, and there's one more quotation you can write down. With the Battle of Sedan, in the Battle of Sedan, Sadova is the Battle of Sadova was when Austria was defeated, and Sedan, in the Battle of Sedan, Prussia defeated France. In the Battle of Sedan, Europe lost a mistress. And gained a master. So France was the mistress of Europe. France was sidelined. France was defeated. And Europe gained a master. Germany became the master of Europe. That's the meaning of that. No, Austria was a very powerful country from medieval times. The Hohenzollern. Okay, sorry, Habsburgs. That was the dynasty which ruled Austria-Hungary. Habsburg kings of Austria, right? But then later, you have the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in the First World War. After the First World War, and four countries were born out of Austria-Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia. So she lost her hegemony of Europe, which she had been enjoying for many centuries. Okay, so then one more thing, influence. You see on your screen, we have influence. What is this influence? Cavour benefited from previous patriots. So he benefited from Mazzini, Garibaldi, and the philosophers, the Italian philosophers, Ghiberti, Cesare Belbo, etc. Whereas Bismarck achieved unification of Germany single-handedly. He was partly supported by the romantic movement of Germany within Germany, but the work of unification of Germany was the work of one man. It was the work of Bismarck. And finally, king support. You see on your screen, Victor Emmanuel gave unstinted support to Cavour. Cavour was fully supported by his king, Victor Emmanuel II. But for Bismarck, it was very difficult for him to get the king's support. Wilhelm I had to be convinced. You remember, when he wanted to fight against Austria, Bismarck had to convince his king that it is possible to defeat Austria. And finally, principles and methods. Cavour believed in all these things: finesse, humanitarianism, subtlety, and less force. Whereas Bismarck believed in brute force, violent and authoritative. He was violent and authoritative. These are the differences between the two unification movements and between Cavour and Bismarck. So I have finished this topic. Let us take a 10 minutes break only. Okay, finesse, he believed, he was subtle, right? He believed in not in brute force. He was very diplomatic, right? And he cared for the people's sentiments, all those things, right? Okay, so you take a 10 minutes break. Now it is nine, what, 7? We'll meet at 7:20. 7:20. Come back at 7:20. And we will start with Industrial Revolution. Topic called Industrial Revolution. Was it interesting? Revise your unification of Germany, unification of Italy topic, please. Right? Revise that at your convenience. Okay. And Bismarck and Cavour. Okay. Okay, carry on. We'll meet at 7:20. Good evening, everyone. Can we continue the class? Am I audible and visible? Hello. Good evening, everyone. Do you have a webinar today? Do you have a webinar today at 8:30? Okay. So I'll be forced to stop the class by 8:15. You have a webinar. Okay. 15 minutes early, before the scheduled closure of this time of this session, I will finish my class. Okay. Is it fine? 8:15 is fine. 8:15, 8:20 maximum. Okay. So you have a webinar, right? No, Chechnya, 8 o'clock will be too early. Not Kavur. Kavur is, it's very clearly given principles and methods, Kartika. Kavur was not an autocrat. We have seen this. He was not a reactionary, whereas Bismarck was. You see here Bismarck. Bismarck is here, and Kavur is here. Yeah, Abhishek. I have received a few answers from many students, including Abhishek and a few more. I will evaluate those answers and send it across to you. I'll mail it back to you. So just hold on, please. No, that's fine, Ankita. Umbrian marches, they were part of the Papal States. So Umbrian marches were occupied by Victor Emmanuel II, and there also you see, people approved the rule of Victor Emmanuel II. They agreed to join Sardinia Piedmont. Okay. Last part, difference between Prussia and Sardinia. Prussian differences. Yeah, I told you, Ankita, foreign domination was absent in Prussia. Prussia was not under any foreign domination. Okay, and she was politically, economically very, very strong. And the Zollverein also added to her strength, her later political strength. Economically, she became one, and later politically also she became one. The lesser German states accepted the leadership of Prussia, whereas foreign domination was very much present in Sardinia Piedmont. Right? We have seen that. Now let us come to Industrial Revolution. Let us come to this topic called Industrial Revolution. Now look here on your screen. Imagine the world about 250 years back from today. So we are in 2024. So let us subtract 2050. 250 years. I'm sorry, 250 years from 2024. So you get how much? Right? Am I right? Hmm? So sometime in the later part of the 18th century. Now, imagine how the world was. Uh, we we are all enjoying the benefit of science and technology in all aspects: automobiles, health, computers, space. In all respects. It's a pleasure to be living in this part of the world at this point in time. Imagine 250, 300 years back from now. How was the world? People were living in villages. Understand this? People were living in villages. Most of the people, they were into farming. They were dependent on the sun, wind, rain, and the harvest. For their harvest, sun, wind, rain. And the fastest mode of transport was the galloping horse. That was the fastest mode of transport. So there was no electricity, no telephone, no computers, no mobile phone, and the fastest mode of transport was the galloping horse. and you did not know what was happening within your body, right? If you are suffering from some problem, you hope that it gets cured by itself, or you go to some quack, but you don't know exactly what is happening inside your body. Whereas nowadays, the things are different. We're all enjoying the benefits of technology. Now, please understand, when we talk about the industrial revolution, we are referring to a technological revolution. So the industrial revolution is basically was a technological revolution. And the industrial revolution first happened in England. It first happened in England. So we need to understand what are the peculiar conditions which existed in England for the industrial revolution to take place in that country first. And from England, the industrial revolution spread to other parts of Europe. Belgium was the first continental country. You see, Great Britain, GBR, in short, GBR, Great Britain. So it is the largest of the British Isles. It's an island, and in the British Isles, it is the largest of the islands. That's why it's called Great Britain. So here, please understand, it had first happened in England or Great Britain, and then from England, it spread to the mainland continent of Europe. And the first European country in the mainland continent of Europe to experience industrial revolution was Belgium. And from Belgium, it spread to other countries like Switzerland, France, Sweden, Spain, etc. And then from Europe, it spread to other parts of the world, America, Japan, USSR, etc. And the whole world was industrialized in a span of about 100 to 150 years. In a span of about 100 to 150 years, the whole world was industrialized, and we are all enjoying the benefits of industrial revolution. Right, this is the introduction to this topic. So you have put a synopsis on your screen. Introduction, prerequisites, that's not very important. So background, inventions, IR, that is industrial revolution, meaning, definition, progress, summary of the progress of industrial revolution, factors responsible for the industrial revolution in Britain, etc. Impact of industrial revolution on, that is, economic, political, and social impact, and impact on the Europe and non-European world. So here there was a question asked by UPSC. Two questions have come from this topic. One was in 2013, the year when UPSC introduced a section of world history. They were asked about Japanese industrial revolution. Latecomer industrial revolution in Japan involved certain factors that were markedly different from what the West had experienced. Analyze. And in 2015, they have asked one more question about industrial revolution in England. Why did it occur first here in England? Discuss the quality of life of the people there during the industrialization. How does it compare with that in India at present? Right. Now let us discuss this topic. Very easy, very interesting topic. But then please understand there are no wars here. So the industrial revolution was a peaceful revolution. So I'll use another page. The industrial revolution was a peaceful revolution. And some say that you cannot use the word revolution for the industrial revolution. Rather, they call it as an evolution. They call it as an evolution, a technological evolution, and even now it continues. The technological revolution even now continues. For example, we have our mobile phones, isn't it? Each of us have a mobile phone. And when mobile phones came, it was like a TV remote, Motorola. During my college days, we had a pager, and then you have a mobile phone which was as long as a TV remote. And nowadays, you have every new model coming every year or once in a few months, 6 months, or you have Apple releasing a new model every year with new features, right? So this is nothing but a technological revolution. We are not happy with whatever technology we have. So we keep on improving whatever we have. For example, you have new models of cars. It could be the new Tata Nexon or the Maruti Brezza. So nothing wrong with the old Brezza, but Maruti has released a new Brezza, right? All of you have seen it on the roads, I suppose. Yeah, it's a little wider, little broader, and we have some extra features. Nothing wrong in the old Brezza. But then in next year, after 1 or 2 years, another new model might come with an improved version. So please understand, when did man begin to make tools? Right? In the Stone Age. A man began to make tools in the Stone Age, and he kept on improving those tools. So, in fact, the Stone Age is divided into three categories, three phases: Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic. Now, the Industrial Revolution is sometimes compared to the Stone Age. So, you see, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. On what basis have historians divided the Stone Age into three phases? On the basis of gradual improvement. On the basis of gradual improvement in tool making technology. In tool making technology. On that basis, Stone Age has been divided to Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. And even now, man continues to improve his tools and instruments. And this is nothing but the Industrial Revolution. This is what is called technological revolution. Did you understand? Now, this first happened in England. We will come to that. It first happened in England, the Industrial Revolution. And what happened is, please understand, from bygone times, from ancient times, labor was either performed by humans or by animals. So labor was either done by humans or animals. For example, if somebody wants to crush seeds and make oil out of it, so you want to make oil from seed. So what do? Either you take a stone and grind it, right? Crush the seeds and try to extract oil out of it, or you take the help of animals, right, to extract oil from seeds. So here labor was either done by animals or humans from ancient times. And this is number one. And number two is people prefer to live in villages. From bygone times, people prefer to live in villages than cities. Now, something happened in England which disturbed this particular setting. Something happened in England which disturbed this arrangement, right? What was this? It was the Industrial Revolution. Now, humans and animals were replaced by machines. Understand this? Humans and animals were replaced by machines. And people prefer to live in cities than in villages. And this phenomena is called Industrial Revolution. Did you understand? This particular development is called Industrial Revolution. People prefer to live in cities than villages. And then machines replaced human and animal labor. And this particular development is called Industrial Revolution. It first happened in England. And from England, it spread to Europe, and from Europe to the rest of the world. And the whole world was industrialized in a span of about 100 to 150 years. Right? Did you understand? This is the gist of it. Now, let us come to, now please understand, before England experienced the Industrial Revolution. So before the Industrial Revolution happened in England, we have England experiencing what is called Agricultural Revolution. So she experienced an agricultural revolution before she had an industrial revolution. So let us understand something about the English agricultural revolution. Right? Now look here on your screen. I'll come to the PPTs in some time. Just hold on. You see, I'll just discuss this. So you see on your screen, it began in England, right? And it spread to the whole of Europe. And Belgium was the first continental country to experience IR. And it spread from Belgium to other parts of the world. Germany, Switzerland, Russia, France, America, Japan, etc. So people before the Industrial Revolution in England, Great Britain, people were living in villages, right? And they were dependent on the sun, wind, rain for their harvest. And you have the medieval three-field crop rotation system. You see on your screen, I'm sure this particular picture is familiar to you. When I did discuss the French Revolution, we had discussed this. Throughout Europe, this was a state of affairs, probably throughout the world. 2 plots of land were cultivated, 1 plot was left fallow. And in the next year, what had been left fallow the previous year was cultivated, and 1 more plot was left fallow, which had been cultivated the previous year. On your screen, you can see here, in the first year, you have barley and wheat cultivated, and this was left uncultivated for the land to regain its fertility. Second year, where barley was cultivated, that is left fallow, and the 2 other plots are cultivated. So this is the medieval three-field crop rotation system, right? And people relied on subsistence farming. They did not cultivate for the wider market. So it was a self-sufficient economy. Whatever they required, they cultivated it for their own uh, personal use, not for the wider market as such. And people divided the field into three plots. Two were cultivated, one was left fallow for the land to regain its fertility. You have animals, sheep, etc., grazing on the fallow land and helping it to fertilize. So they will give out dung, and that will help the soil to recuperate and fertilize. Right. Now, this was a state of affairs. Now, what is this agricultural revolution which happened in England? Let us discuss that first of all. You see, we have some instruments or implements which were developed first in England, leading to the agricultural revolution. First of all, we have in 1700 a person called Jethro Tull. Jethro Tull invented what is called the horse-drawn seed drill. The horse-drawn seed drill. So you can see here, this is the horse-drawn seed drill. Horse-drawn seed drill. So how did this function? You see, obviously it was drawn by a horse or a mule. It was drawn by a horse or pulled by a horse or a mule. And it had spikes. You can see these are the spikes. These are the spikes. So when the horse is pulling the this particular appliance, you have those spokes. No, you have those needles. Spokes. They will lift up the earth. They'll dig up a hole in the ground. They'll drop a seed into the hole, and they'll cover the hole all in one action. This is the horse-drawn seed drill. Did you understand? So the land is plowed, and then the horse-drawn seed drill will be pulled along the plowed land. So what will those spikes do? They'll lift up some soil from the ground. They'll drop a seed in that hole, and they'll close the hole with soil, all in one action. So this particular invention increased the crop yield by 5 times. The crop yield increased by 5 times. So if imagine this: if you sprinkle seeds on the soil, what will happen on the farm? What will happen? You will have birds coming and picking on those seeds. If there's uh, a gust of wind, then the seeds can get dispersed. It can get blown away, and that will obviously reduce the production. But here that was avoided because you have a hole being dug into the ground by this particular instrument. A seed is dropped and the soil is covered. Yes, that the hole is covered. This is the horse-drawn seed drill invented by Jethro Tull. Are you there with me, all of you? Clear? So the farmer could cultivate, or he could plant 3 rows of seeds at a time and increase the crop yield by 5 times. This is number one. Then we have another invention called the Rotherham plow. This was invented by Joseph Folliambi. Joseph Folliambi invented the Rotherham plow. Now you can see here, this is the plow. This used an iron blade. This earlier they used to use wooden blade to plow the land. Now this used an iron blade. So you can plow the land at a deeper level, right? And it required 2 horses and 1 plowman to plow the land, and it cut labor costs and saved time. This invention cut labor costs and saved time. This is the Rotherham plow, invented by Joseph Folliambi. Then further, we have the Dutch 4-crop rotation system introduced by Lord Turnip Townshend. The Dutch 4-crop rotation system invented by or developed by Lord Turnip Townshend. This was in the 1730s. Now look here on your screen. On your screen, I have put a picture. Look at that picture. Observe that. So you have the farm divided into 4 plots. There are 4 plots. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. Now, on 2 plots, wheat and barley are grown. You see, this is wheat and this is barley. And on the other 2 plots, turnips and cloves are grown. This is called the Dutch 4-crop rotation system. In other words, all the plots of the land were utilized under such a farming system. So understand this: wheat and barley, I believe, will reduce the nutrients from the soil. It will reduce the moisture or the nutrients from the soil when you cultivate wheat and barley. Whereas turnips and cloves will restore the nutrients, the lost nutrients to the soil. So here, please understand, first year, you see, this is year one. First year, they'll grow wheat and barley, and then turnips and cloves. The following year, the next year, where wheat and barley were grown, they will cultivate turnip and clove. And where turnips and cloves were cultivated, they'll cultivate wheat and barley. Did you understand? Hello, can you raise your hands? So here, whatever fertility the soil had lost because of the cultivation of wheat and barley is restored in the next crop by turnip and cloves on that same plot of land. Okay. Now, further, turnips and cloves. So here you have more yield. Wheat and barley, there's more yield now because in the previous year, the same plot, they had cultivated turnips and cloves and the fertility of the soil had been restored. So you have more yield of wheat and barley. And turnips and cloves not only restored fertility to the soil, but then they were also aided in better fodder for the cattle. So when the cattle are fed turnips and cloves, they'll fatten up. They'll give more milk and more meat. So it also aided in animal husbandry. This is the Dutch four-crop rotation system, which replaced the medieval three-field crop rotation system. Did you understand? Hello, all of you. It replaced the medieval three-field crop rotation system, the Dutch four-crop rotation system. So all the plots of the land were utilized. So we have the horse-drawn seed drill, then the Lotharam plow, then the Dutch four-crop rotation system, and one more invention is this, the enclosure movement. Let me explain to you what is this enclosure movement. Now, in England, even in India for that matter, we have something called a village common land. You see, this is a village, right? Let us say this is a village. This is the boundary of the village, right? This is the boundary of the village. And you have houses here. People are living here. These are the houses. And you have small plots of land. Your small farmers owning small plots of land here. And adjoining this village, we have a forest here. Imagine this is a forest, right? This is a forest. This is a forest. Then one side of the village, we have grasslands. These are grasslands. And let's say there's another part of the village here where you have, thorns and bushes, etc. Now, these are called village common lands. Like the grassland, the forest, the thorns, bushes land adjoining the village. These are called village common lands. Village common lands. And in India also we have such lands, village common lands. It belongs to everybody in the village. And it belongs to nobody. It belongs to nobody and it belongs to everybody. Anybody can come and graze their cattle in those grasslands. They can engage in game, let us say hunting. They might hunt a rabbit or a deer in the forest, right? Or they might collect honey or firewood, etc. Now, there were many people in England, in the rural areas, who were landless. They did not have any lands of their own. So what they will do is they will have some sheep with them and they will somehow survive on those village common lands. They'll take their sheep for grazing in the grasslands, in the meadows, right? And they'll collect some firewood from the forest and somehow they will make both ends meet. They will sell their wool, sell the wool of the sheep or sell meat, sell milk. They might also keep some cattle with them. So they will somehow survive. And of course, you have small farmers owning small plots of land, like A is of A, B, C, D, E, F, etc. They're all owning, half acre, 1 acre, like that. Now, I'm trying to explain to you what is enclosure movement. I'm trying to explain to you what is called enclosure movement. Now, what happened in England was a rich farmer came or a rich businessman. Okay, so he's a very rich businessman or a rich farmer, landlord. He has got a lot of money. right? So he comes to the village and he will start buying those small plots of land. He will offer very attractive sums of money. So he will tell this A farmer, so let us say a farmer called A, I'll give you this much pounds of money. So let us say the value of this land is, let us say, 100 pounds, right? He will offer 1,000 pounds. That rich man will offer 1,000 pounds or even 10,000 pounds for 1 acre. Let's say I'm taking a hypothetical example, right? So he'll offer very attractive sums of money, and these small farmers, they have never seen so much of money in their life. So that person will sell away the land to this rich landlord, thinking that he will, he can start a business, or that money is enough for him to survive and for his family to survive. So similarly, all these farmers have sold away their small plots of land, right? Did you understand? So they have sold away all their small plots of land to this rich landlord. So what this rich landlord would do is he will convert this into a giant mega farm. You see here, so he has removed those small bunds and he has converted this area into a giant mega farm. Okay, so this becomes a giant mega farm. One plot owned by that rich landlord or rich, businessman. Then he'll pay money to the government and he will take away the village common lands also. So he will occupy the forest. He'll cut down the forest and he'll occupy the forest area also, right? Then he'll occupy the grasslands also. He'll buy the grasslands, giving money to the government and also this area. And he has, in other words, converted this entire area into a huge mega farm, a giant mega farm. Did you understand? This has become a giant mega farm. And on such a giant mega farm, this rich farmer can engage in experiments. So he can introduce the Dutch folk crop rotation system. He can use the horse-drawn seed drill. He can use the Rotherham plow, etc. This is called enclosure movement. You see here, this is called the enclosure movement. A giant mega farm has come into existence. So the small farmers, that is those who own small plots of land, have sold away their lands at being attracted by this heavy amount of money, huge amount of money, and after some time they become penniless. Once you get money, you tend to spend it, and they might have spent the money, in drinking, eating, etc., buying this and that, and they have spent all their money. So they have lost their lands, they have lost their savings. And here the village common lands are also gone, because many of the people living in the village did not have lands earlier. They should somehow survive on those village common lands. So village common lands also have disappeared because a huge mega farm has come into existence. Such small farmers and those people who used to live on those or exist on those village common lands went away to the nearby cities and towns of England in search of employment, creating a huge supply of cheap labor. Did you understand? So small farmers as well as people who used to survive on those village common lands going away to nearby towns and cities in search of employment, creating a huge supply of cheap labor. So this is called enclosure movement. Did you understand? These are the developments in the agricultural sector in England. The four main important developments. Clear? This is part of the so-called agricultural revolution. Jethro Tull's horse-drawn seed drill, Joseph Foliambi's Rotherham plow, Lord Turnip Townshend's Dutch folk crop rotation system, and the enclosure movement. So, how did it help England? How did this agricultural revolution help England? Obviously, it generated an agricultural surplus, which provided the required capital for the later day industrial progress. So, you have an agricultural surplus being generated, it provided the required capital or money for the later day industrial progress. Number two, it provided raw materials, and it also released the excess laborers from the rural areas and created a demand for industrial goods. So you see these excess laborers, that is those who sold away their small plots of land or they had lost their common lands, they went away to the nearby cities and towns. And in search of employment, they began to work in the factories and the small scale and cottage industries, which were established in due course in the towns and cities. And whatever was produced in those factories or in those cottage industries were demanded by these. So you have, they were given wages by those factory owners and they began to demand goods at the end of the month or in the beginning of the subsequent month. when they received their salary, they demanded goods. So you have demand for industrial goods. This is the agricultural revolution. Am I there with you, all of you? Clear till here? So before the industrial revolution happened in England, England had experienced an agricultural revolution. This is agricultural revolution. Now let us come to industrial revolution. Are you there with me, all of you? Can you raise your hands? Clear? Okay, good. Thank you. Now we come to when we first talk about the textile sector. When we talk about industrial revolution in England, inevitably we have to speak about the textile industry. Now look here on your screen. So we have the textile sector in England, textile sector. And please understand, America, that is the 13 colonies, were under the control of England. 13 colonies were under the control of England. Okay. And India was also, in due course, she would become part of England. She would be a colony of England in due course. So here, please understand, the Britishers developed a liking for wearing cotton clothes. They developed a liking for cotton clothes, cotton textiles. So they used to get raw cotton from America, from the 13 colonies, that is from the southern from the southern colonies, and also from India. So raw material in the form of raw cotton would be imported to England. So they'll be imported from 13 colonies and India to England, and raw cotton will be converted into cotton textile. Right. So raw cotton will be converted into cotton textile. And how was the process? You see, you have the cotton ball. This is the cotton ball, right? The raw cotton. And it has got tiny seeds. These are the tiny seeds. Imagine these are the tiny seeds. So in England, women and children, but preferably children, because they have nimble hands, small hands, and women, they will spend a lot of time in separating the cotton seed from the cotton ball. Right? This is the cotton ball. So they'll manually separate the seed from the cotton ball. Then we have the process of spinning and weaving. We have the process of spinning and weaving. Spinning and weaving. Now I'm asking a very stupid question, but anyway, nevertheless, I'll ask you, what is the difference between spinning and weaving? What is the difference between spinning and weaving? Hello? What is the difference between spinning and weaving? Weaving, bunai karna. Okay, Ume. Spinning is making thread. Okay, thank you. First spinning, then weaving. Spinning with charkha. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. So here, spinning is you spin a thread or a yarn. So from this cotton ball, raw cotton, you make a thread. So you spin a thread or a yarn. That's called spinning, isn't it? So you spin a yarn or a thread. And when you bring a certain quantity of thread together, you weave that into a cloth. So for example, whatever clothes we are all wearing have thousands and countless amount of strands of threads, which has been woven together by a machine. We are not able to see the threads, but it has been beautifully woven by a machine. Now, isn't it? That's called weaving. Now, in England, what was the state of affairs? In England, 4 spinners, understand this please, 4 spinners used to work day and night to produce enough quantity of thread and give it to one weaver. So the ratio used to be 4:1. Ratio is to be 4:1. So these spinners and weavers were employed in the small scale and cottage industries of England. So in the small scale and cottage industries, and 4 spinners will work day and night to produce enough quantity of thread or spin enough quantity of thread or yarn, and till the weaver gets a sufficient quantity of thread, he'll be jobless. He'll be waiting for the spinners to give him enough quantity of thread. And only when he receives a large quantity of thread or yarn, he'll be able to weave that into a cloth. Till then, he's sitting idle, the weaver. So the ratio used to be 4:1. Now, if I ask you a question, if there had to be a invention which will hasten the process in the textile sector, in which sector there should have been an invention? Whether it is in the spinning sector or in the weaving sector? Spinning, okay. So that this process of spinning can be hastened. The process of spinning can be speeded up, isn't it? Because the four spinners are working day and night, and the weaver is waiting for receiving a sufficient quantity of thread. So obviously, some invention had to take place in the spinning sector first, so that the process of spinning can be hastened. But that did not happen. That did not happen. You have an invention in the weaving sector happening. So you have a particular invention called the flying shuttle. You have this invention called flying shuttle. This is called John Kay's flying shuttle. This was an invention in the weaving sector. So flying shuttle. So flying shuttle speeded up the process of weaving, creating a further imbalance in the spinning sector, necessitating an invention in that sector. Did you understand? Already there was an imbalance in the textile sector where you have four spinners versus one weaver. 4:1 was the ratio. If at all an invention had to take place, it should have taken place in the spinning sector, as all of you have pointed out. But that did not happen. You have a invention taking place in the weaving sector in the form of the flying shuttle, creating a further imbalance in the spinning sector. And therefore, it was necessary to invent some machine in the spinning sector which will set right this balance. And this is how the Industrial Revolution proceeded. Understand this? I'll use a particular statement. Try to record that statement in your mind. An invention in one sector, that is, for example, spinning sector, you see this one. An invention in one sector led to an imbalance in a related sector. An invention in one sector led to an imbalance in a related sector, necessitating an invention in this sector in order to set right the balance. In order to set right the balance. And this is how the Industrial Revolution proceeded. So here, please understand, we have the invention of the flying shuttle, that is in the weaving sector by John Kay. It speeded up the process of weaving, creating a further imbalance in the spinning sector, necessitating an invention in the spinning sector. And that imbalance was set right by the invention of the spinning jenny. You see here, this is the spinning jenny invented by James Hargreaves. You have 8 spindles. Understand this? 8 spindles were working simultaneously. Earlier in the charkha, which was something like a spinning wheel, Mahatma Gandhi's spinning wheel or charkha, only one thread can be, made in one time. Whereas here, this spinning, jenny had 8 spinners, right? So you can make huge quantity of thread or yarn quickly. And this particular invention set right the balance. On your screen, you see here, this is the spinning jenny. This happened in 1765. So don't worry about the years. Just understand the topic. The years are not important. The sequence of events is important. The sequence of inventions are important. So the flying shuttle speeded up the process of weaving, creating an imbalance in the spinning sector. And that imbalance was set right or corrected by the invention of the spinning jenny of James Hargreaves. Right? And this happened after a few decades. You see, 1733 is spinning shuttle, a flying shuttle, for more than almost 30 years, 30 to 32 years. So now the balance was set right. Now we have another invention which takes place called the water frame. You see here on your screen, this is the water frame of Richard Arkwright. Now the question is, why is it called a water frame? Why is it called a water frame? The driving force, so this was obviously a very huge machine which was installed under a waterfall. So you have a waterfall, you see this is the waterfall, and this machine was installed underneath the waterfall. So you have hydraulic power or water power giving the driving force, providing the driving force for this machine called the water frame. And since it had to be installed under a waterfall, this machine was very, very huge. The water frame machine was very, very huge, and it was installed in big buildings, which came to be called factories. So the water frame of Richard Arkwright inaugurated the modern factory system, what we now call factory. So it inaugurated the modern factory system. You understand? So water frame was a very huge machine. The driving force for that machine was provided by a waterfall. So you cannot install the water frame wherever you want. It had to be installed underneath the waterfall. And it was very huge in size. And such building, and it was installed in huge buildings, which came to be called factories. So the water frame of Richard Arkwright inaugurated the modern factory system. So what was the advantage of the water frame? You can make pure cotton thread and therefore pure cotton fabrics out of it. Earlier, please understand, when the spinning jenny was working, they used to mix cotton with linen so that the thread doesn't cut. So when the spinning wheels are working, the spinners are working simultaneously, 8 spindle wheels are working. The momentum of those spinning wheels might cut the thread. It will result in the thread cutting. So they used to mix cotton with linen, right, to make the thread strong so that it doesn't cut. But then now, with the help of the water frame, you could make pure cotton fabrics because you can make a stronger thread out of it, right, without combining linen and cotton. So this is another invention in the spinning sector. So you see, S means spinning, W means weaving. This is water framed. Are you there with me, all of you? Then we have another person called Samuel Crompton. He invented a machine called the mule. So what is this mule? You can see this is called the mule on the left of your screen. Now in nature, what's a mule? What's in nature? What is a mule? A mule is a cross between a horse and a donkey. So when you cross a horse with a donkey, you get a mule. This particular machine was a mixture of the advantages of the spinning jenny and the water frame. When you mix both these things, you see here, spinning jenny and water frame. These two machines, when you mix it together, you get a mule. So it combined the advantages of the spinning jenny and the water frame. Samuel Crompton's the mule. And you can make stronger and finer yarn or thread out of it. So you have further development in the spinning sector. You have a strong thread, which was made possible with the mule. Okay, did you get me that? So this is the water frame on your screen. Nikhil, this is the water frame. Whatever picture I got on Google, I have put it here. So don't ask me where is the waterfall. The driving force was provided by a waterfall. Okay. This is the water frame. And then this is the mule, which combined the advantages of the spinning jenny and the water frame. Then we have further development in the textile sector. On your screen, you see here, we have the power loom. The power loom, which was invented by Edmund Cartwright. Power loom. Why is it called power loom? The driving force for this machine was provided by steam power. So that's why it's called power loom. So you have steam power, which was the driving force for this machine. And this was an invention in the weaving sector. You can make faster clothes. We can weave faster clothes out of this. This was the power loom of Edmund Cartwright. So on your screen, this is Edmund Cartwright's power loom, the driving force provided by steam. Further, we have an American called Eli Whitney. He invented a machine called the cotton gin. You see, this is the cotton gin. This machine mechanically separated the cotton ball from the cotton seed. Earlier, women and children used to work day and night to separate the cotton seed from the cotton fiber or the cotton ball. Now, this machine was able to do this job quickly and in a jiffy, right? That is the cotton gin. And then further, we have Elias Howe, who invented the sewing machine. So this is Elias Howe, who invented the sewing machine to sew clothes. And this was perfected by Singer, another American called Singer. He perfected the sewing machine. These are the important developments in the textile sector. Did you understand, all of you? All of you, are you clear till here? These are the important developments in the textile sector. So when we talk about industrial revolution, it first happened in the cotton textile industry. These are the developments in the cotton textile industry. Now let me move on. Now, whatever machines you have just now seen, that like the flying shuttle, the spinning jenny, they were all made of what is called pig iron. Understand this, please? They were made of pig iron. They were made of pig iron. Now, how do you get iron? It is found in the form of liquid. No, it is found in the form of a liquid, that is iron ore. You have iron ore in the bowels, underneath the bowels of the earth, right? So it is in the form of a liquid or semi-liquid, semi-solid rather, right? And we extract iron ore. And what did people do in England initially? They used to use coal. Understand this? Coal to melt the iron ore. So they'll extract iron ore from the iron ore mines, right? Then they will put it in a vessel. Imagine this is the vessel, and they'll fire this vessel. This has got iron ore. This iron ore, so that it can be melted. And coal was the material used to melt iron ore, right? And coal, please understand, has lot of impurities. Coal has lot of impurities. Now, since it has got lot of impurities, the amount of heat which the coal can generate is less because it has got lot of impurities in it. So therefore, since the heat the coal is generating is less, the impurities inside the iron ore also remain. So whatever iron ore is melted, and from that iron ore, whatever machines were made of pig iron. That is called pig iron. Did you understand? So iron ore is extracted from the bowels of the earth. Coal is used to melt the iron ore, and then they will fabricate machines, the flying shuttle and the spinning jenny, etc. And all these machines initially were made of pig iron, which is basically impure iron. It is not very pure. It has got a lot of impurities, and those impurities have not got burned down because the coal has not been able to generate that much amount of heat to burn off the impurities in the iron ore also. So this is a very defective system of a metallic compound, iron, pig iron. So these machines initially were made of pig iron, and they had to work day and night. Why day and night they had to work? Because there was a lot of demand for cotton clothes. The English had developed a fancy for wearing cotton clothes, not only cotton clothes, but also they will furnish their house with, cotton curtains, bed sheets, etc. So therefore, there was a lot of demand for cotton textiles, and these machines had to run day and night. And obviously, these machines will heat up. Now, because they are made of pig iron, they'll heat up and they'll crack up, and then they'll stop working, they'll stop functioning. So the machines have collapsed. Literally, they have collapsed. And the factory owners, the small scale and cottage industry owners, where these machines were installed, looked up to the metallurgists of England to solve this problem for them. They looked up to the metallurgists of England to solve this problem for them. And this problem was solved by the metallurgists of England. You see on your screen, these are the important inventions in the metallurgical industry, in the metallurgical sector. In 1709, we have the famous Darby brothers, grandfather, father, and son. This is called the Darby family. Grandfather, first Darby, father, second Darby, grandson, third Darby. So this is the Darby family. So we have the first Darby, Abraham Darby. So he invented the blast furnace. Understand this? Blast furnace. So this machine, this particular blast furnace, in this machine, you have finer and larger castings possible. You can make finer and larger iron castings because the heat was provided by coke. So what is coke? Superior quality coal. Coke is superior quality coal. Superior coal is called coke. So heat was provided by superior quality coal or coke. And with that, with the blast furnace, finer and larger castings were possible. This is number one. Number two is we have the second Darby, who invented the wrought iron. So this was a better iron compared to pig iron. So what is wrought iron? Strong under tension. It is less brittle when compared to pig iron. So now, instead of pig iron, machines came to be manufactured out of wrought iron, a much more superior metallic compound compared to pig iron, wrought iron. So if the pig iron machine was working, let us say, for 2 hours before it is switched off because it has to cool down, then again, once it cools down, again they'll switch it on. Again, it will work for another half an hour, and again they'll switch it off. Now, the wrought iron machine, for example, the wrought iron machine might work for, let us say, 4 hours continuously before it is switched off. So it is a better machine, a better metallic compound when compared to pig iron. Then we have further developments in the metallurgical sector. We have a person called Henry Cott. He invented the puddling furnace and the rolling mill. What is this puddling furnace? Molten iron could be rid of impurities. So that iron ore, whatever impurities it has, that could be got rid of with the help of the puddling furnace. And the rolling mill, it used steam power to roll purified iron into bars. The rolling mill used steam power to roll purified iron into bars. Okay, this is further development. Then we have John Wilkinson, another person called John Wilkinson, who invented cast iron. He invented the cast iron. So first pig iron, then wrought iron, then cast iron. Cast iron, strong when compressed. So for example, you have your iron chairs. No, they're all made of cast iron. So this was a better iron compared to wrought iron. So you have, once this was made, we have iron pipes manufactured for transporting water, iron chairs, vats for breweries and distilleries. This is the example of a beer vat. So now machines came to be manufactured out of wrought iron. Initially pig iron, then wrought iron, and then cast iron. So better than pig and wrought iron. Then we have the third Darby, who invented the first iron bridge in the world. The world's first iron bridge was built by him at a place called Coalbrookdale on the River Severn. You see, this is the River Severn, and this is the world's first iron bridge built in 1779 by on the River Severn by the third Darby. And further, we have further developments in the metallurgical sector when we have the development of steel through the Bessemer process. The Bessemer process of making steel. Now, please understand, in England, whatever iron was found had a lot of phosphorus content. It had a lot of phosphorus content. The iron ore found in England had a lot of phosphorus. And therefore, Bessemer process of making steel could not be used to convert that iron ore into steel. Therefore, two people, Siemens and Martin, developed the Siemens and Martin process of making steel. You don't need to know what is this process. Siemens and Martin developed a new process of making steel which utilized the phosphorus-rich iron ores of England. So you can use the phosphorus-rich iron ores of England to convert it into steel. And once this happened, you have skyscrapers, suspension bridges, railroads, or the railway lines. All these things became possible. So you have suspension bridges, skyscrapers, railroads, elevators, all came into existence. And now machines could work day and night. They will not fail. So initially made of pig iron, then wrought iron, then cast iron, then steel. And if you take the example nowadays, let us say you want to go from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. You want to travel from Kashmir to Kanyakumari on your motorcycle or in your car. So yet you get your car serviced, right? You have some good luck, and the car will not fail unless you sleep off on the steering or you drink and drive, and you have some luck because the opposite fellow also has to be safe, and you can safely reach from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. This car will not fail, provided you're a safe driver and you have some luck going your way, right? Most of the accidents nowadays happen because of driver error, error on the part of the driver, mistake on the part of the driver. Machines will not fail. So we have perfected our machines, and you see now England was able to produce huge quantity of textiles without those machines breaking up. And please understand, this did not happen in a linear fashion. I'm explaining this topic in a linear fashion. First, we have developments in the textile sector. But then whenever the machines broke up, you have the factory owners looking up to the metallurgists of England to solve that problem for them. They will tell, see, the machine is breaking up. It is made of pig iron. Why don't you invent something which will withstand the stress and the strain? And then the metallurgists got down to business. They got down to work and they try to develop a superior compound. And then ultimately we have, pig iron, then wrought iron, then cast iron, and ultimately steel. Are you there with me? So I think I've run out of time. Today you have a webinar, so I have run out of time. I would have continued this topic in a flow, but then I'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow. I'll finish this topic called Industrial Revolution. We will do then Eastern Question, Alliance System of Bismarck. Okay? Yeah, definitely, Kartika. I will do my bit. Whatever Jain and Mathur, I will try to scan it and share the scanned copy with the team. Just give me some time. Pooja, that you have a webinar at 8:30. So I'm ending my class now because you require some time to freshen up, maybe eat your dinner, and then attend the webinar for another 1.5, 2 hours maybe. So we'll stop here. We'll meet same time tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Okay. So those people who have written answers, you please give me some time because a lot of people have written answers, and my mailbox has got flooded. I did not have the time. I will look into it. I have only corrected a few of yours. I'll do it and send it across to you. In 1 or 2 days, I'll send it across to you. So keep up the good work. Keep writing answers. Keep mailing it to me or to the team, targetias@byju's.com, and we will do our best. Okay, thank you very much. Yesterday you finished at 8 o'clock. No, 8:30, right? Oh my God. Okay. Class is supposed to be at 8 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry. I've run. I thought it was 8:30. Oh. Sorry. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for that. Okay. Thank you. Good night. I'm sorry. Confusion. Sorry for that.